Chapter 1260. The Huge Castle of the Parker Family. According to William, this castle had been standing here since the War of Independence and had a history of hundreds of years. The castle was also covered with plants, giving off an ancient aura and a vigorous vitality. Li Fan muttered in his heart. It was hard to imagine that a vampire who liked to live in the dark would live in such a sunny and lively place. William's eyes were filled with an indescribable, complicated light. He had left this place for a long time. The car drove down the mountain, crushing the fallen leaves along the way. It slowly drove to the vicinity of the castle along the small road. In front of them was a huge iron gate with hollow bats carved on it. On the pillars on both sides of the gate, there was a stone gargoyle sitting cross-legged. They looked ferocious, as if they were waiting to devour passers-by. I haven't been to Parker Castle for many years. William sat in the back and looked at the huge castle. The last time I came here was more than 20 years ago. Time flies, doesn't it? You're Marquis now. If you want to come, you can come anytime. Sam hurriedly flattered. This is your home after all. Is that so? William did not comment. He crossed his arms, leaned back, and did not say a word. And Li Fan saw that when the car stopped in front of the gate, the ruby-like eyes of the two gargoyle statues seemed to light up. Then, the gate slowly opened to both sides, like a bat slowly opening its wings. The area inside the castle was not small. It was like a small kingdom inside. To be able to have such a castle in the territory of America, it could be seen that the Parker family was rich and overbearing. Sir, when the car drove along the road of the castle for a while, Sam suddenly asked, "Your blood thrall also wants to go in with us. He's an Asian. It's just a blood thrall. It doesn't matter." William took out the tone of the Parker family. "Aren't these people suitable to be our slaves?" "What you said makes sense." Sam suddenly came to a realization and gave a thumbs up. "You're still farsighted. As expected of the Parker family's marquis. Stop flattering and hurry up and drive." "Yes, we're here." The truck drove for more than a minute before stopping in front of a huge castle. The ancient castle was connected to a row of tall stairs that led down from the top. Li Fan glanced at it. Good Lord, just this door alone was as tall as a 3-story building. The Parker family was quite extravagant. On both sides of the flight of steps, there were statues of knights standing one after another. Every knight held a large sword with both hands, as if they were guardians. They stood there, protecting the ancient castle. This is Grand Duke Parker's Dawn Castle. William alighted from the carriage and looked at the huge, ancient castle in front of him. His heart was filled with endless emotions. The last time I left this place was a long time ago. Now that I see you, you still haven't changed much. Honorable Marquis, I have finished speaking with the Grand Duke. He is already waiting for you. Sam put down his phone and bowed to William. Lead the way. William waved his hand, and Sam immediately led the way, leading the two of them up the tall stairs. Li Fan observed for a while. Each step was very high, with a distance of 20 centimeters between the top and bottom. If an ordinary person were to walk up, they would probably be unbearably tired. However, none of the three of them were ordinary people. It could even be said that none of them were human. The three of them climbed up the stairs and stood in front of the door. The door of the ancient castle slowly opened to both sides with the sound of stones sliding. Li Fan also saw the scene in the ancient castle. The castle was covered with a red carpet, and both sides were classical European decorations. It made Li Fan mistakenly think that he had returned to 15th century Europe. It seemed that this Grand Duke Peter was still a nostalgic person. There were almost no people in the castle. Only some servants were cleaning the castle. A man sat on a throne at the head. He wore a black suit and seemed to be bored to death as he held his chin. This man had an extraordinary aura. Although he looked young, it was unknown how old he was because he was a blood breed. The man watched as they walked in and stood in front of him. "Greetings, Grand Duke." The two blood breeds bowed slightly to the man. Li Fan followed suit. It was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. He would observe for a while first. If William wanted to sit in this position, it would take more than just violence. Li Fan had asked William before. If he wanted to become the new head of the family, He had to defeat the previous head of the family in front of the 10 elders. However, Peter had sat in this position for hundreds of years and was the only Grand Duke in these hundreds of years. His strength was second only to Prince Alfred. Among the blood breeds, only the first generation, Prince Alfred, had abdicated his position. The rest had to continuously defeat the previous generation. William, I heard that you have been promoted to Marquis. Peter's gaze fell and looked at William, which made William's heart tremble. After all, this was the Grand Duke of the Parker family. He was a high and mighty person. His bearing was not something that could be trained in a day and night. His cold gaze was always on William. He did not even look at Li Fan. This also made Li Fan feel at ease. He did not want the other to notice him first. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Li Fan also secretly observed this Peter Parker. He was Lu Wan-er's father. He was here to snatch his daughter. He definitely would not be kind. Yes, I just got promoted. Oh, although he is a bastard, he has some ability. Peter praised somewhat arrogantly. Your father should be a little gratified. At least he didn't give birth to a useless person. Thank you for your praise, Grand Duke. Recently, the werewolves have been a little restless. You took Alba's dog head and taught them a lesson. Tell me, what reward do you want? Reporting to Grand Duke, I don't want any reward. I just want a chance. William finally raised his head and looked at Grand Duke Peter. What? I want a chance to challenge. Oh, Peter's eyebrows slightly moved as he looked at William. You're quite ambitious. A mere marquis wants to challenge me? Yes, please give me this chance. If you want to challenge me, just Alba's head is not enough. Peter said slowly, how about this? I have a mission now. If you can complete it well, I will give you this chance. Li Fan laughed in his heart. This Peter is quite awesome. William was actually not qualified to challenge him. Chapter 1261. It's been hundreds of years, and there are no challengers. I find it interesting that you're willing to challenge me. Grand Duke Peter chuckled. However, you have to complete the mission I give you first. Please speak. William gritted his teeth, thinking that with Mr. Lee around, he could complete any mission. I received intelligence that there will be a wave of werewolves attacking our castle tomorrow. At that time, if you help me get rid of them, I will allow you to challenge me. How about it? All right, it's a deal. William's eyes flashed. Li Fan frowned. He actually had to wait for another day. He did not really want to wait. Mr. Lee, wait for one more day. We will stay in the castle tonight. You can search around. Maybe you will be able to find Lu Wan-er. William's voice sounded in Li Fan's mind. It seemed to be his mental ability. All right, you guys can stay here. Ross, prepare a servant's room for him. Yes. A stooped old man walked over. He had a head full of white hair and a gloomy aura. It was as if he was not a butler, but a night watchman. Lord William, this way, please. The old man extended his hand. William immediately followed him out and brought Li Fan all the way to the second underground floor of the castle. It was a little damp, making Li Fan a little uncomfortable. However, with William's current state, it seemed that he could only stay here. Lord William, this is your room. The old butler Ross led them to a very simple room. This room still had a wooden door, and there was only a wooden bed inside. The surrounding walls were still stone, and it did not look like it had been decorated at all. At a glance, Li Fan saw that there were mottled moss growing on the surrounding stones, adding a bit of fresh color. If there's anything, just tell me. After the old butler Ross finished speaking, he was about to leave, but William suddenly reached out and called out to him. What's the matter? Ross showed a hint of impatience. I'm hungry. Prepare something to eat. William ordered. Got it. Please wait a moment. Ross turned and left. Only the two of them were staying here, but there was only one bed. Well, Mr. Lee can sleep on the bed. I'll just make do. There's no need. You sleep. I'll meditate and adjust my breathing. I'll go out and walk around night. Li Fan missed Lu Wan-er, so he definitely couldn't sleep well. This castle is like a maze. I will lead the way for you. It's not very convenient for two people to move together. Li Fan had his own considerations. Don't worry, we blood breeds have a special method. As William spoke, he blew on it. A small black bat flew out of the darkness and landed on his shoulder. This is an ability that all of us blood breeds have at the very beginning. It's called the bat's eye. William pointed at the little bat. I can see everything around me through it. When the time comes, I'll be in this room with it by your side. This is not bad. Li Fan was a little surprised. There was such a method. Lord William, your meal is here. The old butler's voice came from outside the door. It was also a little low, as if his throat was broken. Come in. William sat on the bed, and Li Fan immediately stood at the side, motionless, waiting for the old butler to come in. The old butler pushed the door open and entered, carrying a tray with a piece of cold bread and a glass of red wine. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. The old butler put the things on the bedside table, as if he didn't want to wait for William's orders. He left extremely quickly, coming and going like the wind. He didn't look old at all. Ross is also an old butler. He's been here since I was born. William said, although he's just an ordinary blood thrall, he's been influenced by his family and looks down on mixed bloods. Then it's no wonder you're treated like this. Li Fan understood. This was a place where bloodline discrimination was everywhere. Even an ordinary little blood thrall would look down on a half-blood marquis, like William, and even treat him coldly. Mr. Lee, this is prepared for you. Although it's a little crude, it's enough to satisfy your hunger. You're not eating? We blood breeds don't eat food. William laughed. Then the old butler knows that I'm only asking for food on your behalf. Yes, I understand. Li Fan nodded. He'd forgotten about this matter. Blood breeds lived on blood. They didn't need to use food to replenish their energy, so they didn't need to eat. This red wine should be quite old. William gently pushed the red wine in front of Li Fan. Although this bread isn't much, the wine is good. All the wine here is stored in the cellar. Okay, thank you. Li Fan felt that William was a good person. Although he was ambitious, it was normal for a man to be a little ambitious. However, Li Fan also muttered in his heart, the werewolves were going to attack here tomorrow, and Peter left the defense to William? How could he be so at ease? William, are you sure you can deal with those werewolves tomorrow? Not really. Don't I have you? William said shyly. Damn. Li Fan was a little depressed. He stretched out his left hand, sucked some more blood. Maybe you can evolve into a duke. This, William laughed bitterly. How can it be so easy? Then are you going to suck or not? Suck, suck, suck. William nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. This kid once again carefully held Li Fan's arm, as if he was looking at a treasure. Hurry up, don't waste time. Yes. William opened his fangs and bit Li Fan's wrist. There was another light sting, followed by a feeling of emptiness from the loss of blood. William's eyes emitted a red glow again. Following that, his body released a red glow bit by bit. This time, Li Fan didn't stop him and allowed him to suck his blood as he pleased. Li Fan's blood production speed was extremely fast now, so he wasn't afraid of William sucking a little more. He also wanted to test how much William could suck and how strong he was. Soon, William's face turned red. He pushed away Li Fan's arm, took 2 steps back, and sat on the bed. The red glow on his body became more and more intense, but the flush on his face faded and he looked a little pale. This time, the wings on William's back popped out again, tearing the clothes on his back and extending outside. Li Fan closed the door tightly to prevent the movement here from being noticed outside. It seemed that this guy was going to evolve again. He probably didn't expect to evolve twice in 2 days. Mr. Lee, you're really strong, William murmured. I actually evolved again, of course. You were at the peak of Marquis before, so it's not strange for you to evolve into a duke now. You're right. Let me digest first. William closed his eyes and began to feel his new strength. Chapter 1262. William had improved his strength twice and officially entered the level of a duke. Even among the blood breeds, dukes were rare. It's about time. Li Fan waited for a long time. When William's expression had calmed down, he suddenly opened his eyes. All right, I'm ready as well. William nodded. Tonight, he would fully cooperate with Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee had already helped him too much. If he didn't help him this time, he would be letting him down. They were allies. If he didn't show his value, he probably wouldn't want to help him. An ally like Mr. Lee was definitely worth fighting for. I will use my mental strength to communicate with Mr. Li through the bat. William gave Li Fan a reassuring look. This time, Mr. Li will be satisfied. Don't make it sound so weird. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I'm going out. Tonight, we're exploring the castle. As Li Fan's voice fell, the sportswear on his body suddenly began to change color and soon turned black. Your clothes are made of nanotechnology, right? William was a little dumbfounded. Yes. Why, doesn't America have it? William shook his head, thinking that China's technology was a little too heaven-defying. No wonder America wanted to restrain China. If China was allowed to grow, it would be too scary. Was working with Mr. Li like asking a tiger for its skin? But now is not the time to think about such things. Mr. Li had already helped him so much. He had given his heart to him, so he couldn't let him down. Since young, this was the first time William had met a friend who was willing to treat him sincerely. No matter what happened in the future, he had to help Mr. Li find Lu Wanwan. The castle was very quiet at night. All the servants were asleep, and the corridor was empty. There was not a single person in sight. Li Fan had night vision, so he wasn't worried about such an environment. But if it was a blood breed, they could still find him. Ordinary vampires possessed night vision, and vampires above the rank of Count also possessed ultrasonic detection abilities. He walked along the corridor, trying to find Lu Wanwan's scent. He was familiar with Lu Wanwan's scent. As long as he was nearby, he would be able to find her. William accompanied Li Fan and walked around the castle a few times, but they couldn't find Lu Wan. Mr. Li, we've almost walked through the entire castle. William's bat spoke to Li Fan with its mind power. You've been everywhere? Li Fan was also proficient in mental strength. He used mental strength to converse with William, and William was shocked. This Mr. Li, he had hidden his strength well. Mr. Li, the only place we haven't explored is the third underground floor of the castle. William calmed himself down and said to Li Fan, however, I have never been to the third level. And let's go and take a look. Li Fan wasn't interested either, but Lu Wanner was right in front of him. If he didn't find her, Li Fan wouldn't be able to let go. Mr. Li, please go ahead. There's a small staircase that you can go down. William pointed out, and Li Fan followed the direction he gave and walked to the designated location. Sure enough, there was an inconspicuous small staircase hidden here, and there was a gust of chilly wind coming from below. It didn't look like a bunker, but more like a tomb. Li Fan thought for a moment. This was the territory of the blood breed, so there was nothing unusual about a tomb hidden below. Although he didn't know if Lu Wanner was really here. As long as there was a bit of hope, Li Fan had to try. Li Fan's hand touched the staircase, and a chill spread from Li Fan's palm, instantly attacking his whole body. What a frightening cold air. Even he himself could feel the coldness. Li Fan's body had the attribute of frost, and with the protection of Yuan Qi, normal cold had no effect on him. But this chill was obviously abnormal, as if there was something causing trouble. In such a mysterious place, maybe Lu Wan was really down there. Without hesitation, Li Fan held the cold railing and walked down the stairs. It was very deep down, as if it led to the 18th level of hell. Li Fan patiently climbed all the way down. After about 5 or 6 minutes, Li Fan finally reached the deepest part of the place. He jumped down from the stairs, and his feet stepped on the cold grass. What kind of place was this where grass grew? Bah, his words were a bit ambiguous. Li Fan looked around, and the space below was vast, as if it was another space. He squinted, looked carefully, and suddenly understood something. William looked carefully. Doesn't this look like the Dawn Castle? William, who had transformed into a little bat, looked around for a while. It really is exactly the same as the Dawn Castle. But what's going on here? How can there be such a big space to put a Dawn Castle? Li Fan looked around, and it was indeed a dark version of the Dawn Castle. The surrounding scenery was exactly the same, except that there was no sun here. Could it be? This is the Dark Knight Castle? Dark Knight Castle, what do you mean? I've only heard of it, but I've never seen it before. The Dawn Castle is only a residence on the surface, but the real residence of the Parker family is hidden in the Dark Knight Castle below. I used to think that it was just a nonsense rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true. But how can there be such a huge space underground? And how many years did it take to dig it out? This should be a huge underground cave or something like that. Li Fan guessed the Parker family occupied this place and secretly built a castle and used some kind of method to seal the exit and then built a dawn castle on top to fool people. Such a huge project, is it possible? William didn't dare to believe it. There are many ancient tombs of kings in Huaxia, and all of them are of this size. Li Fan thought of the ancient imperial mausoleum where Liao Ju was. The area of that place was not smaller than this place. This is unbelievable. Merlin's beard, William exclaimed in admiration, and Li Fan thought to himself, what an ignorant fellow. Since I found this place, I might be able to see Lu Wan. Li Fan stepped on the grass and walked towards the Dark Knight Castle in front of him. In front of him was the gate of the Dark Knight Castle, and it was exactly the same as the Dawn Castle. There were two stone gargoyles sitting on the pillars on both sides. When Li Fan approached, the two gargoyles instantly opened their red eyes, and their gaze fell on him. Mr. Li, they have their eyes on you. William's voice rang in Li Fan's mind. At this moment, the two gargoyles spread their wings at the same time and instantly came to life. Chapter 1263. The two gargoyles flapped their wings at the same time, bringing along a gust of wind. Their gaze fell on Li Fan, revealing their mouths full of fangs. The two gargoyles charged at Li Fan and roared together. Bang, bang. Two sound waves directly pressed down on Li Fan, bringing along the sound of an air explosion. Li Fan frowned. He moved sideways and slid away, avoiding the two sound waves. The ground was blasted open, the grass was overturned, and the soil was scattered everywhere. Mr. Li, please be careful. William reminded Li Fan. Although these gargoyles have eyes, they can't see people. They rely on sound waves to locate you. Their strongest weapon is this sound wave. Got it. Thanks for the reminder. Li Fan stared at the two gargoyles, ready to deal with their attack at any time. The two gargoyles flapped their wings and actually flew into the sky, one on the left and one on the right, preparing to launch a pincer attack on Li Fan. Li Fan's eyes caught their movements. He moved left and right, easily dodging the two gargoyles' attack. Although the gargoyles' speed was extremely fast and their attack was like thunder, Li Fan had seen through all of their attacks. However, Li Fan had seen through all of their attacks. No matter how the gargoyles attacked, they couldn't even touch the corner of Li Fan's clothes. Little fourth style, dragon subduing spear. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out both his hands. The leaves on the ground began to dance, constantly rotating, and flew into Li Fan's hands, condensing into a spear. The dragon subduing sword. However, the surrounding energy could not only condense into a sword, but also other weapons. One of the gargoyles had already rushed in front of Li Fan, opened its bloody mouth, and bit towards Li Fan. Come down. Li Fan grabbed the spear with both hands and directly stabbed down. Pooh! The gargoyle's head was directly pierced by Li Fan and nailed to the ground. One gargoyle was killed, but the other gargoyle suddenly went berserk. Its body expanded, going from 2 meters tall to more than 3 meters. At the same time, its body flashed with a blood-red light. Then, it stood there and roared at Li Fan. A red shockwave blasted towards Li Fan, tearing apart the soil on the ground. Li Fan brandished the spear in his hand and flicked it against the shockwave. This huge shockwave was actually dissolved by Li Fan's power. Then, Li Fan took a step forward, aimed at the still, stiff body of the gargoyle, and stabbed it in the head, lifting it up and throwing it into the air. The gargoyle's body once again fell to the ground, pierced by Li Fan's spear, and fell to the ground. Li Fan stepped on the gargoyle's chest and crushed it. William fluttered at the side, flapping his wings. His small bat face seemed to be filled with speechlessness. Li Fan's strength was too awesome. Even if it was him, it would take a lot of effort to deal with 2 vampires. However, Li Fan actually handled it so casually. This kind of fighting strength was not something the vampires possessed. The vampires had their own fighting style, but compared to Li Fan's skills, it was child's play. Looks like this is a martial arts master. The gatekeeper is dealt with. With a wave of Li Fan's hand, the spear formed by the leaves immediately dispersed and scattered on the ground, as if it never existed. This, Mr. Li, can you teach me this martial art? William hesitated for a long time and finally asked. Sure. Li Fan did not refuse. I'm going to establish a sect soon and recruit disciples. Even foreigners can do it? William was a little surprised. I heard that the sects in China have something like sectarian bias. Indeed there is, but it's different now. Li Fan's ambition was everywhere. You follow me. I will teach you. You are too kind. William was extremely excited. I must learn from you. Okay, I will teach you a few ways to use the chain. Li Fan was now proficient in all kinds of martial arts. I'm looking forward to it. William was very happy. This way, he could also become stronger. Let's enter the Dark Knight Castle, since we are already here. Li Fan said, stepping on the grass, walking toward the Dark Knight Castle. It was another long flight of stairs, but this time, Li Fan used his qigong and jumped to the front of the door. The door of the Dark Knight Castle was closed, as if it did not want outsiders to enter. These two big iron doors must be 1,000 pounds. I am afraid we can't enter. William was slightly disappointed. It seemed like this Dark Knight Castle. He could only say goodbye to it today. You hide well. It is not suitable for you to show up. Li Fan reminded William. Huh? Don't just listen to me. Okay. William flapped his wings and went into Li Fan's pocket. Hide well. The bat secretly bit a small hole in Li Fan's trouser pocket and looked at the outside world through this hole. Li Fan stood in front of the two big iron doors, his body expanded a few times, alien bone changing. Soon, Li Fan turned into a different person. He was a strong man who was 9 meters tall. Li Fan put one hand on the iron door, then sank his energy into his dantian. The energy continuously poured into his wrist. Open. Li Fan exerted force on his wrist. The iron door opened. Just SOSO. The iron door was so heavy that even a dozen strong men could not push it open. However, Li Fan easily pushed it open with his own strength, which shocked William, who saw all this through the small hole. The door was pushed open. In front of him was still a hall covered with red carpet. There was a throne on it, but there was no one there. And on both sides of the hall, there were rows of coffins. Before Li Fan had time to go in, the stone knights on the steps behind him suddenly moved. They shook off the dust on their bodies, slowly raised the sword in their hands, and then walked toward Li Fan. Mr. Li, I sense a terrifying aura. William used his mental strength to warn Li Fan. I already know. Li Fan turned around and looked at the stone knights in front of him, his face expressionless. They are just some small fries blocking the door. As he spoke, a stone knight had already walked in front of Li Fan, raising the sword in his hand high, as if it was about to slash down. But Li Fan did not dodge. Instead, he took a step forward, his shoulder heavily hitting the chest of the stone knight. Bang! A huge amount of energy exploded from the chest of the stone knight, and it was smashed into pieces. The strength of Li Fan's shoulder was like a bomb. Li Fan's strength was right there. These stone knights were really not considered a dish to him. He stood in front of the door, as if he alone could hold the pass against 10,000 people. No matter how many stone knights came, they were all smashed by Li Fan's fists and feet. Chapter 1264. None of these stone knights were of any use. In less than 3 minutes, the ground in front of Li Fan was already full of gravel. Since it's the Dark Knight Castle, why not prepare some decent guards? Li Fan sighed, feeling lonely as an expert. Since it's the Dark Knight Castle, there must be experts. William was somewhat worried. I hope Mr. Li can turn misfortune into blessing and find Lu Wana. Thank you for your kind words. Li Fan finally stepped into the Dark Knight Castle. The carpet under his feet seemed to be alive. As soon as he stepped on it, 2 skeletal arms stretched out from the carpet and tightly grabbed his ankles. Huh? Li Fan raised his eyebrows and shook his ankles, trying to shake off the skeletal hands. But the arms did not move at all. It seemed to be very strong. Not bad. Li Fan smiled. This is interesting. Master, this Dark Knight castle is very strange. You have to be careful. Understood. Li Fan was about to take a closer look at the skeletal hands. Just at this time, the coffins on both sides suddenly slowly opened. One figure after another walked out. Who dares to break into my Dark Knight castle? These were all sleeping vampires. At this time, because of Li Fan's intrusion, they were awakened. Their strength is uneven. They are Baron and Marquis. William's voice sounded. Yes, I know. Li Fan was the first to speak. Everyone, I'm just looking for someone. I don't want to hurt anyone's life. Everyone quickly leave, otherwise I won't be lenient. What big mouth. A mere yellow-skinned monkey dares to come here and make trouble. The opposite vampires sneered again and again. Really reckless. Go swallow 'em alive. The surrounding vampires all took out their own blood weapons. There were all kinds of weapons, but most of them were ordinary European weapons, such as big shields, big swords, giant axes, chain hammers, and so on. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his right hand. The gravel outside suddenly flew up and condensed into a palm-sized sword in Li Fan's hand. Fourth movement, dragon-subduing sword technique. The stone sword in Li Fan's hand flicked out and pierced through the throats of several vampires almost instantly. Li Fan knew that these blood tribe members all had strong bodies and healing abilities. If they were pierced in the heart or the head, they could still live. But if they were pierced in the throat, severing the connection between their head and neck, they would die. Li Fan was indeed merciless. The dragon-subduing sword could cut through iron like mud, let alone the bodies of these Blood Clan members. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 Blood Clan members have been assassinated on the spot. As for the other attacks from the Blood Tribe, they were all blocked by Li Fan with a single hand and sent flying without any effect. At this time, Li Fan was like a wolf that had entered a flock of sheep. With his own strength, he was able to kill all the vampires and force them to flee in panic. Who the hell are you? The Blood Clan member who had been talking to Li Fan was also a Marquis. At this time, his eyes were fierce as he roared at Li Fan. Huaxia's Shang Fong sword. Shang Fong sword. The Marquis's expression changed. Yes. Li Fan's eyes seemed to be filled with lightning, causing the Marquis to tremble in fear. However, he quickly calmed down and mocked. What Shang Fong sword? Huaxia's guardian. What a joke. Didn't you still get caught by our spells? These skeletal hands are filled with energy and are extremely hard. No matter what, you won't be able to break free. Unless, of course, you cut off your own legs. No need. As Li Fan spoke, he forcibly broke the skeletal hands on his ankles and stomped on the ground. Bam! The ground trembled slightly. The floorboards under Li Fan's feet cracked, and the carpet was torn into several pieces. What? The Marquis was taken aback. He could not believe his eyes. The surrounding Blood Clan members also retreated a little. They subconsciously took a few steps back, not daring to approach Li Fan. Li Fan's body was surrounded by a 3 to 4 meter diameter vacuum circle. No one dared to approach. All you are trash. Li Fan heard a deep voice, and then a coffin that was placed on the ground was slowly lifted up. The coffin was slowly opened. A thin man appeared in the coffin. His eyes were cold as he looked at Li Fan, who was standing below. Just a dirty foreign bloodline. You can't even deal with it. So disappointing. The man sighed. Sure enough, leaving the Dark Knight castle to you, trash, is not good. Sorry, Duke Zack. I woke you up. The Marquis quickly kneeled down and apologized to the man. Forget it. You can leave. Leave this to me. Duke Zack slowly walked down, Shang Fong sword. I haven't heard of this name for more than 300 years. I have killed many yellow-skinned monkeys in the past. Shang Fong sword is nothing. It is just a rumor. Is that so? Then it seems that you have been living like a dog for these 300 years. Li Fan chuckled, still so ignorant. I think you are tired of living. Duke Zack's eyes flashed with a sharp edge. Trespassing into the Dark Knight castle. Today, your head will be left here, Zack said and extended his hand towards Li Fan. Grasp of Darkness. This grasp of darkness was somewhat similar to Li Fan's dragon catcher hand. Grasp of Darkness used the power of darkness to lock the opponent's neck in the dark and twist his neck. But Li Fan was standing there perfectly fine. His neck was wrapped with elemental energy. This Grasp of Darkness could not hurt him at all. What? Zack frowned. He did not expect his Grasp of Darkness to fail. This was the Dark Knight Castle. It was dark and gloomy all day long. It could be said to be a place where Blood Clan's magic could be used to its peak. How could it fail? Zack could not understand. Where did it go wrong? Since that is the case, I will use my treasured blade to kill you. He stretched out his hand, and the blood condensed into a 2-meter-long saber, which he grasped in his hand. 300 years ago, I once fought on the battlefield. This blood blade can be used again today. With that, Zack grabbed the blood-red blade with both hands and slashed at Li Fan. Li Fan leaned to the side and easily dodged his blade. Bang! A 2-meter-long crack appeared on the ground. It made people's heart go numb. But Li Fan did not care. He lifted his foot and stepped on the back of the blade. Zack tried to lift it, but was unable to. Rise for me. Zack's face was gloomy. He tried to lift it again, but was still unable to lift it. Fuck. Zack could not help but curse. Sorry, this blade, you better put it down for the time being. Li Fan stomped hard again, and the blood knife sank into the floor. Chapter 1265. Impossible. Zack roared and looked at the blood knife under his feet in disbelief. This blood saber was firmly stomped into the ground. I'm sorry, you can leave now, Li Fan said as he elbowed Zack's lower abdomen. Pooh! Zack's body was sent flying and spun a few times in the air before smashing into the wall behind him. He smashed a painting on it and broke through the wall, embedding himself in it. Is there no one stronger? Li Fan's yuan qi flowed around his body, shocking the surrounding vampires. No one dared to approach him. William admired Li Fan. As expected of Mr. Li, the guardian of China, these vampires were all afraid of Li Fan's aura. Mere vampires, if there is no opponent, retreat immediately. Li Fan warned them one last time. If you don't listen, I'll kill you. With Li Fan's words, the vampires were indeed afraid of him and didn't dare to come forward. The Dark Knight Castle was their base camp, but now it was broken through by an Asian man, and no one could stop him. Prince, please come forward. All the vampires knelt on the ground and begged in unison. Prince? According to Li Fan's knowledge, there was only one prince in this place, and that was Al Parker. It would be interesting to let Al Parker fight with him. After fighting with the vampires, Li Fan realized that even a duke's strength was at the peak of the martial arts school. But their combat level was not good. Their fighting style was monotonous, and their overall strength was at most at the advanced level. If it was a prince, he hoped that he would be able to give him more surprises. Li Fan crossed his arms and stood in the distance, waiting for the prince to arrive. Who is disturbing me? Another muffled voice sounded out of nowhere. Along with this voice, there was some kind of shivering chill. Frost kept appearing on the floor, freezing the carpet, making it look like a skating rink. As for Li Fan, he remained unmoved, as if he was waiting for this person to descend. In the castle, a coffin suddenly fell from the sky and landed on the ground with a loud bang, smashing in front of the throne. Creak! The coffin slowly opened, revealing a 10-year-old boy standing inside. With a wave of his hand, the coffin flew up and crashed to the side with a thud. He leisurely sat on the throne, crossed his legs, and looked down at Li Fan. Has the main character finally appeared? Li Fan sneered. Air, right? If you don't want to die, exchange my Lil Wan with you. Lil Wan? Al held his chin and frowned. I haven't come out for hundreds of years. I don't know who you're talking about. However, even if you want me to die, you can't do it, right? This Al looked like a golden-haired youth. He had delicate features and was lovable. No one would have thought that such a childish-looking youth was actually the ultimate boss of the Parker family, Al Parker. Whether I can do it or not, we'll know after a while. Li Fan put his hands forward and made the starting gesture of the Nine Dragons art. China. I've only heard of it before. I've never been there. Al picked up a nail clipper and trimmed his long nails. He seemed to care a lot about his appearance. He cut his long golden hair short and tied it into a ponytail at the back of his head. I heard that China has some powerful martial artists. I thought it was just a rumor. I didn't expect to see it today. I've only heard of some vampires. I've only seen them recently. Li Fan began to move his muscles. Is the prince strong? Let me try. I just woke up. I'm too lazy to move my muscles. Al hooked his finger at a female vampire next to him. That woman was overjoyed. She ran over and massaged Al's shoulders and legs. Tell me, how do you want to fight? How do I fight? Are there different ways to fight? Li Fan was a little surprised. I have a bad habit. I like to be quiet. Al said slowly. Usually, I won't fight if I can avoid it. But if others insist on fighting me, I'll definitely kill them. So I want to ask you, do you want to fight casually, or do you want me to be serious? Of course I want to be serious. Otherwise, I'll come here in the middle of the night. How boring. Li Fan stretched. Also, if I win, you have to help me find my little one. Sure. Al, am a man of my words. Al waved the woman away and slowly stood up. If you can win, I'll fulfill your wish. If you die, I will bury your corpse here for you. How about it? Al, have done my best, right? Thank you very much. Li Fan laughed. At this time, William was hiding in Li Fan's pocket, trembling. Seeing the boss of the family, he was probably scared to death. All right, who's that little guy in your pocket? Seems like he's not that old, but he's already a duke. That's really amazing. Al praised. For so many years, the Parker family hasn't had much progress. With your talent, it won't be long before the Parker family has a second prince. For so many years, you've been sleeping? Li Fan felt William's uneasiness and changed the topic. Living for too long, there's always some uneasiness. Al sighed. Especially me. I became a prince, but I was judged by the sun and couldn't leave the world above ground for the rest of my life. A few hundred years before I became a vampire, I tried to go out at night and even met a peerless woman. I'm a nocturnal devil, but she's a beautiful angel. I loved her, but she didn't want to become a vampire. I could only watch her die. You're so young? There's actually a woman who fell in love with you? Li Fan said, this is too heavy taste. I'm a vampire. I can control my appearance. Al casually said, since then, I've been sleeping here all day. Maintaining my virginity is just to sleep more comfortably. From your tone, it seems like you don't discriminate against me. Why would I discriminate against you? I was a bit surprised. Just because you're a human? No, I respect humans. Every race is worthy of respect. Li Fan was a bit puzzled. Isn't the tradition of the Parker family bloodline? I understand. I was very smart. He instantly understood Li Fan's thoughts. You should be talking about Conan Parker. Indeed, he's a pure blood fanatic. This son of mine is indeed a bit unusual. However, let's not talk about them. Can we start? Chapter 1266. Al's pair of dark green eyes stared at Li Fan as if he was asking. Even in this kind of environment, Al still maintained his bearing and politeness. Please. Li Fan extended his hand. Al's body floated in the air for a moment and then slowly slid in front of Li Fan. During this process, Al's body continued to grow and soon became the height of a normal adult man. He is about 1.8 meters tall with a handsome face and a golden ponytail. He is indescribably charming and elegant. If this brother were to shoot a movie, he would definitely be a lady killer. He stretched out his hands, and red blood flew out and weaved into a scarlet coat on his body. This is your blood weapon? Seeing this coat, Li Fan was a bit surprised. Yes, that's why I said I don't like to fight. My weapon is a beautiful coat. Al smiled warmly. My taste in this coat is not bad, right? Looking at this somewhat medieval coat, Li Fan did not know how to comment. However, right now in China, this kind of retro feeling is popular. Maybe if someone like Al wears it out, he can really set a fashion trend? All right, let's begin. Al said as he stretched out his right hand. Waves of cold air condensed in his hand and formed a 1.5 meter long frost sword. Damn, does this mean you don't like to fight? I need something to defend myself. Al explained. After a vampire evolves into a prince, they will be able to awaken an ability. My ability is frost. With that, the ice sword in Al's hand suddenly slashed down. Clang! Li Fan raised his right hand. His arm was wrapped in Frost Dragon Face shield and blocked Ael's attack. A trace of shock flashed in Ael's eyes. Sorry. Under the shield, Li Fan's mouth slightly rose. Coincidentally, my ability is also frost. With that, Li Fan placed his left palm on Ael's abdomen. Black Dragon Ice Palm. A large amount of frost instantly covered Ael's body. Following that, a huge force exploded from his back. Bang! Ael's body only paused for a second. The next moment, he was sent flying and smashed into the wall behind him. A dent appeared on the wall, but AR managed to stand his ground. At the same time, he gripped his greatsword with both hands and appeared in front of Li Fan in a flash. The ice sword in his hand was aimed at Li Fan's throat. Although Ael's moves were simple, they were full of power and speed, making up for the lack of moves. Li Fan punched upwards towards Air's ice sword. But at this moment, Li Fan noticed that his attacks had slowed down at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ael's bullet time? Once he activated this ability, he was many times stronger than William. Ael's sword, however, was even faster. It reached Li Fan's throat directly. At this critical moment, the Valkyrie automatically popped out from behind Li Fan, waved her golden palm, and slapped away the ice sword. The Valkyrie's powerful strength forced all to take 2 steps back. Oh! Looking at the slowly disappearing golden light behind Li Fan, Ael's eyes flashed as if he was very interested. What is that? Valkyrie's true form. Li Fan, on the other hand, did not hide it. Our Huaxia's martial artists, at the end of their cultivation, can achieve this state. With that, the Valkyrie once again popped out from behind Li Fan. She opened her arms, and with a powerful force, she attacked the castle of the night. The surrounding vampires were all pushed back by the powerful blast. So powerful. Al looked at Li Fan enviously. I also want to have such power. As he spoke, the scarlet coat on his body glowed brightly. Then, some blood flew out from the coat and slowly condensed into a woman's figure behind him. This woman's body was blood red, holding a huge blood-red scythe in her hand. Li Fan was a little speechless. Did he learn it just like that? Although he used the blood weapon to show it, Ael's talent is too good. If this guy was not disheartened and slept in the coffin for hundreds of years, perhaps he would have become invincible. After all, with his endless lifespan, even God can't stop him. So scary. Is it why Elizabeth? Al seemed a little excited. The blood-red woman stretched out her hand and gently touched Ael's cheek, as if communicating with him. Li Fan was a little surprised. Could it be that Ael's blood weapon has its own consciousness? Why, Elizabeth, I knew that you would not leave me. Let us defeat this Chinese guest together and thank him for reuniting us. As soon as Ael's voice fell, the blood-red woman behind him suddenly picked up the huge scythe and directly swept it toward Li Fan. Li Fan felt the power of the scythe and immediately slid back 3 meters away, avoiding the scythe's range. Clang! The Iron Knight decorations in the surroundings were cut in half by the saber wind and fell to the ground. Why, Elizabeth, you are still so powerful. Al was very happy, as expected of the strongest cross paladin. Fuck! The woman that Al likes is actually the cross paladin who crusades against the Blood Clan and Beastmen. This news is really explosive. Valkyrie, dragon subduing sword. Li Fan knew that Al was not easy to deal with and immediately ordered. The Valkyrie, who was wearing the flying dragon armor, immediately moved her hands. The gravel on the ground flew up and condensed into a meter-long stone sword in her hands. Then, she cut through the night sky and instantly slashed at Al. Why, Elizabeth, let me protect you. As Al spoke, he raised a beautiful frost shield with both hands and blocked it. The stone sword stabbed into the shield and got stuck. Why, Elizabeth took the opportunity to raise her blood-red scythe and slashed it down toward Li Fan's head. Valkyrie, Thunder Dragon, Heavenly Retribution. Li Fan did not hesitate and used the second move. The Valkyrie waved her hand and slashed with the power of thunder, splitting Why Elizabeth's scythe from the side. The two of them continued to exchange blows, exchanging several moves in a row. Li Fan felt that it was a little tricky. Al and Y Lisabeth, one defending and the other attacking, had a seamless cooperation. On his side, only the Valkyrie could attack. Although his martial arts were good at both offense and defense, it was difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. Every exchange was extremely dangerous. If he was not careful, he might be hit by the opponent's move. Guest from China, you have given me a lot of surprises. I was very happy like a child who had received a gift. I will also use my power to fight with you. This is my respect for you. As he spoke, he suddenly stepped forward. Time slowed down, and his shield heavily crashed into Li Fan's body. Chapter 1267. All used the bullet time to slow down time again. However, he was not affected. He took the initiative to step forward. In this dark castle, he was like a god of war. He raised his ice shield and slammed it heavily on Li Fan's body. It was as if he had been hit head-on by a car, and Li Fan's vision darkened slightly. The blood-red Elizabeth spun around and used her body to drive the power of the scythe. The sound of air being torn could be heard. The scythe's blade was already in front of Li Fan's neck. However, Li Fan had been waiting for this moment. A victorious look appeared in All's eyes. It was like he was waiting to celebrate with Elizabeth. Valkyrie, Supreme Dragon Fist. A golden light flashed. Bang! The Valkyrie's fist was still emitting white smoke. A huge fist mark appeared on All's chest. It directly tore a small part of his body apart. Fresh blood flowed down the wound, and it did not stop. He stood there and stared at the bloody hole in his chest. From here, he could clearly see the wall behind him. There was also a fist mark half a foot deep on it. Elizabeth's hands touched the bloody hole in All's chest. It was like she was feeling heartache. The powerful, self-healing ability of the Blood Kindred was also displayed at this moment. The bloody hole in his chest was slowly closing up. The surrounding Blood Kindred were so scared that they broke out in a cold sweat. They did not dare to say anything. This powerful Asian man had even defeated a prince. So powerful, after a long time, All spoke. You are the second strongest opponent I have met in so many years. All's chest was still healing. He shifted his gaze to Li Fan. I should praise you, powerful Eastern guest. Sorry for offending you. Li Fan cupped his hands. His Valkyrie also dispersed bit by bit. The ray of light in the hall finally disappeared. The surrounding Blood Kindred heaved a sigh of relief. You win, guest. As Al spoke, he flew up again and landed back on his throne. Prince, you obviously did not use your royal body. Duke Zack knelt in front of him and asked unwillingly. Shut up. Al berated him, causing him to tremble in fear. That posture is too ugly. Also, you short-sighted fellow, can't you see that this distinguished guest hasn't used his full strength yet? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't surprised. This AR actually saw through this. Amazing. I really want to fight this all with all my strength. Sensing the powerful fighting spirit emanating from Li Fan, AR hurriedly said, Customer, I think it's better if you don't fight anymore. I told you, I really don't like fighting. What's more, I'm not in a state of complete victory. I've been asleep for hundreds of years, but my power hasn't increased. It's been too long since I've sucked blood, so my strength has regressed. All right, then remember, you owe me a fight. Li Fan reminded AR, I owe a debt for no reason. Elizabeth, AL's expression was bitter. You can train the little guy in your pocket well. He has a lot of potential and can be your opponent in the future. He's indeed a blank piece of paper that can be trained well. However, this isn't something that can be done overnight. We blood breeds have a long lifespan and can be trained slowly. But my lifespan is limited. But I feel that your lifespan is also very long. AR looked at Li Fan very seriously. Although it's not an endless lifespan, it's still far longer than an ordinary person's lifespan. Oh, is that so? Li Fan thought for a moment. It's probably about my vitality training, or the fact that I ate a dragon. By the way, you said that I'm the second powerful opponent you've met. Li Fan was having a good time now, and was a little interested in this matter. Who was the first? The first? AR laughed. I didn't expect that you would be interested in this kind of thing. The first person was Queen Circe back then. She was the original blood breed, the ancestor of all blood breeds, and the true queen of blood breed. Li Fan didn't expect there to be such a secret. I was also a first-generation cross knight back then. I received training and nurturing from the religion of light and set off towards Circe's castle. Along the way, I don't know how many blood breeds I killed, and the allies of the blood breed at that time, the orcs. My body was covered in blood as I stepped on the corpses all over the ground and stood in front of Queen Circe. I even cut off her head with my own hands. But at this moment, I was also cursed and became a blood breed who fought with all his might. AR sighed. My own wife and daughter died in the hands of the blood breeds, but I didn't expect that I would become such a person. In other words, you're stronger than Queen Circe? No. AR shook his head. Queen Circe was much stronger than me. It's just that she wanted to die, so I killed her. You've lived enough? That's right. Is there anything more painful than watching your lover grow old? AR laughed bitterly. They say that longevity is good, but they don't know the bitterness of it. Especially us blood breeds. We don't see the sun and live in the dark. The longer we live, the more abnormal our minds become. I ordered my descendants to build this dark night castle, to lead the disheartened blood breeds to a place to rest. Then I won't disturb your sleep. Li Fan could see that AR had long been disheartened by everything. Now that he saw Elizabeth again, he just wanted to enjoy the joy of reunion. But this kind of love would probably not last long, and it would probably still be painful. After all, she was not a living person, he couldn't talk, and he couldn't touch her. Li Fan thought about it. If it wasn't for Lil Wan and the others, no matter how strong he was, he probably wouldn't be able to survive in this world. You should fulfill your promise and tell me about Lil Wan, right? Sigh, distinguished guest, I can only give you my token. AR reached out, picked up a small bat emblem, and threw it to Li Fan. You'll have to ask the rest yourself. Fuck, you can't help me yourself. Back then, I made a rule that the Dark Knight and Dawn don't interfere with each other. AR pointed up. I have no right to interfere with the current patriarch. I can only give you my token. If you take it, he should give you some face. Are you kidding me? Li Fan was a little angry. I really didn't, please believe me. AR looked at Li Fan with a sincere face. If we old guys always interfere, then the Parker family will never grow. So, even if I come forward, the patriarch of this generation can still not give me face. So, I can't help you, guest. Chapter 1268. Damn it. Li Fan had already returned to the small dwelling they lived in. He was sitting on a chair, holding his breath. I had a good impression of that owl before, but now I just want to give him a few more slaps. This, Mr. Li. I think what Mr. Owl said is true. William was carefully putting in a good word for his ancestor. It's because it's true that I'm holding my breath. Li Fan was a little mad. Damn it, I'll tear this place down tomorrow. I don't believe I can't find my Lil Wan. Don't. Mr. Li, William hurriedly advised, don't be anxious. Even if you tear this place down, what if Lil Wan is hiding somewhere else? Wouldn't your efforts be in vain? As long as we defeat the invading werewolves tomorrow, I will successfully challenge Grand Duke Peter and become the 6th clan leader. Naturally, I will have the right to release and return your Lil Wan. I always feel like a long night is fraught with dreams. Li Fan had spent the whole day in the instance dungeon, but in the end, he had gained nothing. Also, the opponent is a Grand Duke, and you're only a Duke. Do you have the confidence to defeat him? No, so I have to ask you for help. William looked at Li Fan with a fawning expression. With your strength, dealing with a Grand Duke is definitely not a problem. I'm thinking that I might as well help the werewolves and destroy the Parker family. Li Fan touched his chin, as if he was seriously thinking they might be more obedient. Io, my Mr. Li, you're joking and scaring me again. William touched his little heart. Those who want to attack our castle are also radical beastmen terrorists. They will definitely be punished by the committee, and the Knights of the Cross will constantly hunt them down. These guys are not magnanimous. You won't get any benefits if you cooperate with them. I'm just saying, after all, rather than talking about cooperation with those guys, it's better to just kill them. Li Fan's words made William's hair stand on end. Mr. Lee, this hostility is really big. Mr. Lee, don't be anxious. Let's talk about how to deal with Grand Duke Peter. Don't worry, I will naturally help you when the time comes, but I will need to borrow your body for a while. In the past, Li Fan had always used other people's bodies to fight. How about this? Since we have nothing to do at night, I'll teach you a few moves first. You can learn them. Maybe you can defeat Grand Duke Peter yourself. Really? William was overjoyed. Of course. Moreover, you will be the head of the Parker family in the future. Naturally, you must have the power to suppress them. Although the abilities of the blood race are not bad, their fighting style is really terrible. If you learn these moves of mine and comprehend them properly, they will definitely be of great help to you. Thank you very much. Don't stand on ceremony. Take out your blood chain. Yes. William summoned his chain and handed it to Li Fan. Li Fan immediately taught him a few simple moves so that William would be able to learn them. That night, the two of them did not sleep at all. Moreover, Li Fan's training was more strict, and William had suffered a lot. In the morning, when the old butler passed by, he heard waves of male moans coming from William's room. He frowned, as expected of a dirty, mixed blood. No wonder he brought a male blood slave here. It was for this kind of thing. Dirty. Despicable. At this moment, one of the leaders of the werewolves, Worf, led 20 like-minded subordinates and secretly came to the vicinity of Dawn Castle. Brothers, when the sun rises, we will break into Dawn Castle. Worf was blind in one eye. He had a head of long silver hair, a fierce face, and a strong body. Worf, you are the leader. Everyone will listen to you this time. A bald werewolf beside him was adjusting the crossbow in his hand, a cold smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. This time we will definitely kill all these bugs. I especially got these crossbow bolts for killing bugs. Worf picked up a crossbow and inserted a bolt into it. The arrowhead is specially made of silver and smeared with the blood of the dead. It is extremely harmful to the blood race. Today, it's time for us to make our contributions. When we annihilate the Parker family, the committee will have to face our strength. Worf still had a few hand axes hanging on his waist. We will let the royal family know that it is useless to keep retreating. Only war belongs to our souls. Yes, war. Slaughter. All the werewolves became excited. Their eyes glowed red as if they could not wait any longer. Yes, we must kill. Worf laughed loudly. Let's go. The day will be the end of those bugs. He was very excited. These people were all battle-hardened warriors. Now that they had these crossbows, they would definitely be able to annihilate the Parker family. Other than Grand Duke Peter, they did not care about the rest of the blood race. However, Grand Duke Peter was only one person. There were 3 other Grand Dukes, but they did not live here. Right now, the Parker family was a lump of meat waiting to be eaten by them. It's about time. Everyone, follow me. After Worf finished speaking, he raised his crossbow and led the charge towards Dawn Castle. The 2 gargoyles above their heads sensed danger and woke up immediately. They flew down and pounced towards the werewolves. However, 2 of the werewolves transformed immediately and pounced on the gargoyles, fighting them. The rest of you continue to attack. Yes, the group of werewolves pounced towards Dawn Castle as if they were on drugs. Some blood race guards ran out and fought with the werewolves, but they were all killed by their sharp claws and crossbows. Ha ha, see that? These little bugs can't even withstand a single blow. Worf laughed as he chopped off a blood race's neck. Then, like kicking a ball, he sent the head flying. Take down Dawn Castle. Kill. The group of werewolves became more and more courageous as they killed. They tore every blood race they encountered into pieces. However, at this moment, a blood-red chain suddenly flew out and locked onto a werewolf's body, dragging him over. Worf turned his head and saw a golden-haired man standing there. He held the chain in one hand and a scimitar in the other. He chopped off the werewolf's head directly. The path leading to the gate was sealed off by numerous chains. I'm sorry, you can't pass through here. William looked at the werewolves calmly and warned them. At this moment, Li Fan was standing on a tree at the side, secretly protecting William. With him around, William's life would not be in danger. Hee hee, Someone is here to die. Go and kill him. Worf sneered and ordered a werewolf beside him. Chapter 1269. The werewolf started running, saliva dripping from his fangs. His eyes shone with a bloodthirsty light, as if he wanted to tear William apart. The fallen leaves around him danced in the wind as he ran. Everything seemed messy and violent. However, William's expression did not change. His mind was filled with the techniques that Li Fan had taught him throughout the night. Lock, just as the werewolf was about to pounce on him, he suddenly threw out the chain and wrapped it around the werewolf's legs. The werewolf had been running wildly. At that moment, he lost control of himself and fell to the ground. He rolled forward for a long time and kicked up a large cloud of dust. William pulled the chain and dragged the werewolf, who was in a daze, back to him. Then he cut off the werewolf's neck. Phew! It worked. William was happy. The techniques that Mr. Lee had taught him were indeed useful. He had taught him that his chain was actually a master of defense. With a chain as an absolute defense and a scimitar, he could sweep the world. Don't let this guy get too full of himself. Kill him. Worf continued to order. How could he let a blood-breed bug stop him? Behind him, 6 werewolves held crossbows that were the size of toy pistols and aimed at William. 6 crossbow bolts tore through the air and reached William in the blink of an eye. Bullet time. In front of William, the speed of the crossbow bolts immediately slowed down. Dang, dang, dang. William's chain condensed into a shield in front of him, blocking the crossbow bolts. Continue shooting. Kill him. Worf was a little unhappy. He ordered more werewolf warriors to join in the shooting. Hunt. But at that moment, a chain suddenly fell from the sky and wrapped around a werewolf's neck. It lifted him up and pulled him into the air. The werewolf struggled with all his might, but the chain became tighter and tighter. Finally, with a crack, the chain broke the werewolf's neck. His headless body fell and landed at Worf's feet. Worf's eyes widened. He could not understand. It was the werewolves who were hunting the blood-breeds. Why was it the other way around now? Hunt. The chain fell again and wrapped around another werewolf's neck. The werewolf's expression turned from anger to terror. He struggled with all his might, but he was still lifted into the air. The chains tightened until the werewolf stuck out his long tongue and his eyeballs were about to split open. Damn it! Worf jumped up high, swung his sharp claws, and slashed at the chains. Clang! Sparks flew as the chain was torn apart by his sharp claws. His companion fell to the ground, but he had already been strangled to death. There was no breath coming in through his nose. Ow! All the werewolves let out mournful cries. Their howls echoed throughout Daybreak Castle, startling countless birds. Li Fan sat on top of the tree and nodded in satisfaction. William was quite smart. He used some of the techniques that he had taught him well. Werewolf Barkle, challenge you. A 3-meter-tall werewolf couldn't take it anymore. He charged at William. This werewolf's running speed was extremely fast, and his strength was great. Every time he ran across the ground, he would leave behind deep wolf paw prints. Lock. William threw out the chain again and locked it at the werewolf's legs. However, Barkle was obviously on guard against this move of William's. He immediately jumped up high and dodged William's chain before pouncing at him. Barkle opened his claws and was ready to tear William into 2 pieces. However, at this critical moment, a relatively thin chain suddenly appeared in front of William. The chain was only as thick as a finger and blocked Barkle's path. Barkle was shocked, but he was pouncing at an extremely fast speed in the air. There was no way for him to stop. The chain was like a sharp blade. When Barkle's neck hit it, it was sliced through. A werewolf's head flew up again, and the corpse fell beside William. He heaved a sigh of relief. This was a defensive move that Mr. Lee had taught him. It was specially used to deal with fast enemies. The faster the enemy was, the more ruthless the cut would be. Barkle. Worf's eyes were really bloodshot. Barkle was a general who had followed him for more than 10 years. He had slaughtered countless enemies and gone through hundreds of battles. However, today he had died a tragic death with his head separated from his body. Who was this blood breed who used chains? Why hadn't he heard of his name before? Roar! At this moment, a little werewolf that was only about a meter tall suddenly jumped out from the grass and aimed at the back of William's neck. This little werewolf was also a type of werewolf variant. They were born thin and small, which made them very suitable for stealth hunting. This time, he had been lying in ambush here for a long time under Worf's instructions. He was waiting for the moment William revealed an opening, and then he would kill him. Indeed, William did not notice. He did not even feel the danger approaching from behind. But while William did not notice, Li Fan was watching. He held a small stone in his hand and threw it. Puffed. The stone directly pierced through the little werewolf's skull, killing him in midair. Brain matter and blood splattered everywhere. This time, William heard a sound. He turned around and saw the little werewolf lying in a pool of blood. He was shocked and then rejoiced. If not for Mr. Li's help, the one who would have died would not have been this little werewolf, but himself. Mr. Li had saved him so many times. He had to repay this kindness. Retreat. Worf gritted his teeth and finally decided to leave. He had underestimated the Dawn Castle. He did not expect there to be such an expert here. And it was not just William. He was out in the open, but there was another expert in the dark. No, since we're here, we don't expect to leave alive. Although Worf had given the order to retreat, the other werewolves were already in a killing frenzy. Everyone, let's attack together and kill this damn bug. Roar, roar, roar. The remaining dozen or so werewolves threw away their crossbows and rushed toward William on all fours. But William smiled. Mr. Li had said that the more people there were, the more effective his chains would be. William stretched out his hand, and the trap he had set up earlier took effect. In an instant, a net formed by chains appeared in front of him. The werewolves that were running toward him could not stop at all and directly rushed into the net. Some wrapped around their legs, some around their arms, and even their necks. These werewolves struggled with all their might, trying to break free. But none of them noticed that these chains were wrapped around each other's bodies. No matter how much strength they used, they were only exhausting each other's energy. It's over. Worf's face was pale. He knew that this time it was their end. Chapter 1270. They had wanted to hunt down the Bloodbreeds and take down Dawn Castle to show the committee what a real orc was. However, Worf did not expect that their plan would be destroyed the moment it started. There was only one Bloodbreed, but he killed all of his companions with a chain. The struggling werewolves no longer had any energy left and soon stopped moving. William dragged them in front of him one by one and chopped off their heads. Enough! Worf roared as he watched his companions die one by one. The white-furred werewolf smashed the crossbow and roared, "Worm of the Bloodbreed, I'll be your enemy." Huh? Didn't you want to escape? William was surprised. Why did this guy go back on his word? Escape? I choose to fight with my comrades. Worf's gaze was firm. As werewolves, we'll live and die together. If we live, we'll eat the flesh of the Bloodbreed. If we die, we'll hunt the souls of the Bloodbreed. As he spoke, he ran to William. William shook his hand and threw the chain. However, Worf was much stronger than his companions. With a wave of his claws, he flicked William's chain away. The sunlight was Worf's companion. It weakened William's strength and prevented him from using most of his abilities. Worf had already seen through William's tricks. William's skills were mainly defensive, and the effective range of his defense was 3 to 10 meters around him. As long as he avoided his traps and got close to him, he would be dead. Worf was indeed a battle-hardened warrior. William was right about that. With a warrior's instinct for danger and superhuman reflexes, he avoided every chain trap. Finally, he rushed in front of William with a cold smile on his face. This time, he could kill the worm. Worf's wolf claws swept down, aiming for William's throat. He could already imagine the beautiful scene of him tearing William's neck apart. However, in the next second, his face darkened again. A chain wrapped around William's waist and pulled him back in an instant, out of Worf's attack range. William heaved a long sigh of relief. As expected, Mr. Li had foresight in every step. He asked William to make a safety measure for himself. It was this chain mechanism. From the very beginning, William had secretly chained himself and a tree beside him. In the nick of time, the chain activated and pulled itself away, dodging Worf's fatal strike. Damn little bug, why don't you dare to fight me head-on? Worf was about to go crazy. William pursed his lips. If he fought Worf head-on, wouldn't he be dead? You're too shameless. Why don't you come and fight us at night? At night, the Bloodbreed's battle prowess was multiplied by several times. I will definitely kill you. Worf roared and pounced on William again. But this time, William did not set up any traps. He threw the scimitar up, then grabbed a chain with both hands and swung it up. One end of the chain hooked onto the hilt of the scimitar and became one. William swung the chain and moved the scimitar, drawing a beautiful trajectory in the air as he charged at Worf. Worf was shocked. What kind of attack was this? His warrior's reflexes were activated. He instinctively stopped and jumped back. William's arms were wide open, his body shifting left and right. He moved the scimitar on the chain and spun it again, chasing after Worf. The scimitar was like a meteor chasing after the moon, chasing after Worf. Worf dodged and countered with his claws, bouncing William's scimitar away. However, William could quickly use the rebound force to swing the scimitar again. This time, it was faster and more powerful. Soon, Worf's body was covered in cuts. His stamina was getting weaker and weaker. In the end, his body was full of wounds, and his strength was getting weaker and weaker. The chain suddenly wrapped around his neck, and the scimitar pierced into Worf's head. Plop! Worf knelt on the ground and stared at the scimitar above his head blankly. Was this the Bloodbreed's attack method? William swung the chain again and cut Worf's head open. He then pulled the scimitar back and sheathed it. The chain disappeared into thin air. All the werewolves had been killed. William heaved a sigh of relief. He was about to sit on the ground when Li Fan held him up with his primordial energy. Don't relax. Li Fan walked over and transmitted his voice to William. Is there anything else, Mr. Li? Someone is watching you. Li Fan gestured to the side with his lips. William looked in the direction of the door. Grand Duke Peter was looking at him with his arms crossed. Grand Duke, I didn't fail you. William immediately turned around and knelt in front of Grand Duke Peter. Not bad, Peter praised. I misjudged you. I didn't expect you to already have the strength of a duke. Your improvement almost made me forget that you're a mixed blood. Come, you've earned the chance to challenge me, Peter said and turned back to the hall. William and Li Fan exchanged glances. The opportunity had finally come. The two walked into the hall together. Just as they stepped in, the door suddenly closed and the entire hall darkened. Dozens of Blood Tribe guards walked out, each holding a blood-colored weapon, staring at them like a tiger watching its prey. An elder wearing a black cloak walked out. He pointed at William and started cursing. You're a traitor who betrayed us. Today will be the day you die. William's expression changed drastically. Li Fan transmitted his voice to his ear to reprimand him, telling him to calm down. Yes, with Mr. Li by my side, William calmed down and asked, Grand Duke, Elder, I don't understand what's going on. Grand Duke Peter sat on the throne and tilted his head, looking at them with interest. The elder's eyes flashed with disdain as he sneered. Stupid, do you think I can't see it? You dirty mixed blood. You actually joined forces with a Chinese monkey. This is my blood slave. How can we join forces? William refused to admit it. Stop quibbling. Bastard. The elder scolded. This is the Chinese imperial sword. How can he be your blood slave? All right, I've been seen through. Li Fan raised his head and put his hands in his pockets. He looked at Peter. However, Peter, you personally promised to give William a chance to challenge him. Shut up. You monkey, what qualifications do you have to speak? The elder stomped his feet and cursed, but Peter waved his hand and stopped him. That's right. The people of the Bloodbreed keep their promises. What I promised, I will naturally keep my promise. However, Li Fan, this is not a place you should be. Chapter 1271. Who didn't know the great name of the Shang Fong treasured sword? He defeated the strongest expert in Japan and brought glory to Huaxia. That video was spreading like wildfire on the internet. The current Li Fan was like a national idol. He was even more famous than a lot of fresh meats. Thus, it was not a surprise that he was recognized by this elder. Hua Xia Shangfang's sword has already been grounded. Especially the United States, the higher-ups have already issued an order to not allow you to step into this place, right? First of all, it's my freedom to go wherever I want. No one can control me. Li Fan put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, "Also, do you think I like to come to this broken place of yours? Hurry up and hand over my Lil Wan. Otherwise, I'll flatten this castle of yours." Impudent. Too impudent. The elder cursed angrily. A Chinese monkey actually dares. Before he could finish his words, Li Fan's figure appeared beside him out of nowhere and smiled at him. Following that, he raised his hand and gave the elder a slap. With a slap, the elder was dumbstruck and did not regain his senses for a long time. Everyone was shocked. When they looked over, Li Fan had already returned to William's side, as if he had never moved. "You." The elder covered his face. The half of his face that was not slapped was unbearably red. He was ashamed and angry. "The next time you speak nonsense, it won't be as simple as a slap." Since there was no need to hide, Li Fan completely revealed his domineering side. He was the little overlord. Was this title for nothing? After holding it in for a few days, he could finally vent it out today. "Looks like the person who tarnished my daughter is you." He did not care about the elder's matter at all. He seemed to only care about his daughter. He looked at Li Fan, his eyes flashing with anger, as if he wanted to ignite Li Fan. "What do you mean by tarnishing?" Li Fan curled his lips. "Lil Wan and I are truly in love, but you came out to tear us apart for no reason. Even if her bloodline isn't pure, Xiaowan is still a member of our Parker family." Peter ridiculed Li Fan. "What qualifications do you have to touch a Parker family member? Furthermore, what right do you have to stand here and talk to me?" "Peter Parker, take a look." "What's this?" As Li Fan spoke, he took out the Bat family emblem and showed it to Peter. Peter shuddered at the sight of the family crest, but quickly recovered himself. "I didn't expect you to be acknowledged by Prince Al. However, what did this mean? He doesn't care about what happens above us. I'm the one in charge of Dawn Castle. I have the final say in my daughter." "All right, I knew it wouldn't work." Li Fan put the family emblem back into his pocket. "If that's the case, let's see who's the real deal. I know you're amazing, but are you sure that Lil Wan really has feelings for you?" "Of course. I know her feelings the best." Li Fan answered without hesitation. "All right, then I'll let you see." Peter clapped his hands. The door at the side slowly opened. A beautiful woman in a black dress gracefully walked out. She stood beside Peter. Her beautiful eyes turned and her gaze fell on Li Fan. "Xiaowan." Li Fan was overjoyed. He finally saw her. "Who are you?" Xiaowan tilted her head slightly and asked Li Fan in English. Her eyes were filled with unfamiliarity. "Fuck." Li Fan flew into a rage and scolded Peter. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing much. I just turned her back into the precious daughter of the past." Peter laughed. "This is our Parker family's woman. She can't be tainted. I won't let you off." Li Fan gritted his teeth, and a wave of anger continued to rise in him. "If William can defeat me, I can consider restoring her memory." Peter narrowed his eyes and looked at them. "How about it? Do you want to consider it?" "All right. William is also considered my disciple." Li Fan patted William's back. "I believe in him." "Great." Peter laughed heartily. "But if you lose, I want all the blood in your body." Sure. This guy was indeed not ordinary. He could see the difference in his blood. "Come, prepare the venue." Peter waved his hand. The surrounding vampires immediately moved to the side, leaving the living room space. "Mr. Li, can I really do it?" William was still a bit nervous. Peter was the number 2 expert of the Parker family. Although Mr. Li could beat Al, but can he beat Peter? "Don't worry. Use the skills I taught you well." Li Fan gave William a reassuring look. "You are my disciple after all. Believe in your own strength." "Yes, Mr. Li." William took 2 deep breaths. He then summoned his chain and held it in his hand. It was as if he felt safer with it. "Well, do your best. Don't forget, you are a master of defense." Li Fan patted William's back. "Go." "Yes." William walked to the front and stood in the middle of the hall. Peter also slowly came down. He looked at William opposite him with a mocking smile. It was as if he did not put William in his eyes at all. Luanner stood on top and looked down curiously. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She was like a newborn baby, full of novelty to everything. William, you are a mixed blood. You are quite lucky to have the chance to stand in front of me. Peter's body emitted a dazzling blood light. This blood light flew into the air and slowly formed a blood cloud. Li Fan looked at the blood cloud above his head. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Damn it, this Peter's blood weapon is also very special. A blood cloud. What's going on? Come, William. Let's see how much you have grown. Peter said and pointed at William. Two skeletal arms appeared under his feet and grabbed both of William's legs. Undead slave. This was the Grand Duke's dark magic. Peter's finger pointed downwards, and a blood-red lightning bolt struck down from the blood cloud, heading straight for William. William was shocked. Peter's ability was actually this? It was too heaven-defying. But William heard Li Fan's voice. Chain. William was not stupid. Li Fan's words reminded him. He immediately threw the chain in his hand. One end was thrown into the air, and the other end was inserted into the ground. Gotcha! The blood lightning struck the chain and was then guided into the ground, allowing William to escape from danger. Oh, not bad. Your reaction is very fast. Peter's expression was normal, but you are still a mixed blood. You are not worth mentioning. Is that so? While speaking, William suddenly appeared behind Peter. Don't look down on me, Grand Duke. Chapter 1272. Peter was about to make a move, but found that his right hand had been locked by William's chain. A chain was locked to his right wrist and the wall next to him. Peter did not panic. He snorted coldly. The blood cloud above his head once again struck down a blood lightning, heading straight for William. But a blood net formed by chains appeared in the air. After the blood lightning struck it, it was directed by the chains to the surrounding castle walls. Peter frowned deeply. His powerful blood lightning ability was actually neutralized by this brat's chains. Grand Duke, I said, don't look down on me. So what if I'm a mixed blood? I can still defeat you pure bloods. William said and directly launched the hunt. A chain suddenly fell from the sky and strangled Peter's neck. Peter grabbed the chain with his hand and pulled it hard, forcibly breaking the chain. Stupid, Peter scolded. A mixed blood is a mixed blood. Do you think you can defeat me like this? I'm a Grand Duke, the Grand Duke of the Parker family. Peter was almost invincible in his life. Only Al, who was more powerful than him, slept in the Dark Knight Castle all year round. But now, a mixed blood could beat him without the ability to fight back. Come out, undead slave. Peter broke the chain on his right hand and raised his left hand. The ground broke open and 3 skeleton warriors slowly climbed out. Each of the 3 skeleton warriors was carrying an iron shield and a steel knife. They attacked William together. I've long expected this move of yours. William was very confident. Except for the blood cloud, all of Peter's moves had been deduced by Li Fan last night and told him the corresponding method. When the 3 skeleton warriors came out, William hooked the chains on the 3 of them and locked their legs together. These 3 skeleton warriors only had simple intelligence. Now that their legs were locked, they couldn't even realize it. They wanted to get close to William, but they tripped over each other and couldn't get up on the ground. Peter frowned deeply. The other party actually suppressed him. He was just a mixed blood and only a duke. He was a pure blood Grand Duke. He was full of confidence, but now he began to worry. If this went on, wouldn't he lose? This was the challenge competition, and there were 10 elders watching from the surroundings. Once he lost, he wouldn't be able to go back on his words. Grand Duke, you lost. William swung his hand, and the chains locked William's legs. You won't win. Grand Duke Peter let out a furious roar, and the blood clouds in the sky suddenly flew down, entering Peter's nostrils and being sucked into his body. In the blink of an eye, William's chain net was the only thing left in the hall. Grand Duke Peter's body suddenly began to swell. He roared again and again, and 2 pairs of black wings suddenly popped out from his back. The clothes on his body were torn to shreds, and his originally fair skin became dark. The current Peter was like a huge bat monster, body of the royal family. The surrounding elders discussed spiritedly. The Grand Duke can actually use his royal body. He's indeed a pure-blooded genius of our vampire race. So ugly, Li Fan finally understood why AR didn't use his royal status. This was simply a monster, ugly to the extreme. That bat face made people lose their appetite just by looking at it. After turning into a big bat, Peter seemed to have lost the ability to speak. He opened his bloody mouth and blew a supersonic wave at William. William couldn't react for a moment. The supersonic wave was too fast, but Li Fan kept his guard up. He didn't seem to make any movements, but he used his vital energy to pull William to the side. Bang! The wall at the side was smashed, revealing the sunlight outside. Many blood breeds hurriedly dodged to avoid being hit by the sunlight. William, leave it to me. Li Fan used his vital energy to control William, and at the same time, he spoke into his ear. William immediately relaxed and let Li Fan handle it. He felt as if his body was being controlled, and then he started to move. Peter opened his mouth, and another supersonic wave swept across the ground, shooting towards William. William's body slid lightly, and he easily dodged Peter's supersonic wave. Peter stretched out his hands, grabbed two blood-colored spears, and threw them at William. The speed of the spears was extremely fast. They broke through the air and arrived in front of William in an instant. But William stretched out his hands and caught the two spears in his hands. Ordinary people didn't have such foresight and judgment. William used a special footwork and appeared in front of Peter in an instant. At the same time, he held the two spears and aimed them at Peter, and then he stabbed them upwards. The two spears pierced into Peter's chest, and then he was lifted up high. Bang! William stabbed Peter's body and pushed him against the wall behind him, sticking him there. Peter roared and sent another supersonic wave at William. William lowered his body and dodged the supersonic wave. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and pinched the big bat's mouth. William exerted force and directly dislocated Peter's jaw. He couldn't even use the supersonic wave anymore. Then, William pulled up one of the big bat's legs and lifted it up. There was a cracking sound, and then Peter screamed. Then, William's right hand directly pierced through Peter's chest, and he forcefully dug out his heart and held it in his hand. The heart was still beating, and it was covered in red blood. "I'm sorry." William held the heart and said slowly to Peter, who was stuck on the wall, "From today onwards, the head of the family is me, William Parker." Peter returned to his original form, and he begged William in fear. Let me go. I'm willing to obey you. First, tell me how to recover Lil Juan." William asked. "I've sealed her mental strength. You just need to undo it," Peter hurriedly answered. "I see." William nodded, and then, without hesitation, he crushed his heart. To the Blood Clan, the heart was also an important part. Now that his heart was gone, Peter's face turned pale, and in the midst of his screams, he slowly turned into a dried corpse. "From today onwards, the family will be under my management." William stretched out his hand, and Li Fan handed AL's family emblem to him. "I've defeated Peter, and I have Prince AL's support. Now, who objects? You can step forward." "I don't agree." An elder immediately roared. "You're just a dirty mixed blood. You don't have the right." Before he could finish his words, a chain fell from the sky and strangled his neck, hanging him up and directly breaking his head. "Is there anyone else who objects?" William asked again. Chapter 1273. William, even if you use this method to control us, the other three Grand Dukes will not support you. An elder reminded William. "Why? Are you looking down on my bloodline?" Under Li Fan's instructions, William directly sat on the throne of Dawn Castle. "Feel free to challenge me. I welcome you anytime. The second-generation Grand Duke will come looking for you soon." The elder continued. "Grand Duke Conan is a pure blood supporter. He has always been monitoring Dawn Castle. Now that Grand Duke Peter is dead, he will definitely bring the other Parker families to oppose you. Everyone, could it be that you are also supporters of pure blood? William looked at the people present and said loudly, "Think about it. All these years, because of the pure blood, how much hardship have you suffered? Everyone here, you keep saying that you are pure blood, but who doesn't have illegitimate children? Think about it. Is this really the life you want? You gave birth to them, but you let them live in secret? Everyone, the Parker family should be liberated. You should also be liberated. From today onwards, I announce that the Parker family will cancel the pure blood order. All clansmen can freely interact with other races, can openly raise their children. This is really a crazy decision." An elder looked at William in disbelief. Racial discrimination is a kind of civilization backwardness. William unceremoniously ridiculed. Even America can have a black president. Why is our family forever stuck in the history of hundreds of years ago? If you do this, we can't support you. Some elders still resisted. Not only us, no one in the family will support you. Really? William's voice became louder. Those who are willing to support me, stand out. I'm willing. I'm also willing. One by one, vampires walked in from outside, walked quickly to the hall, and knelt in front of William. There were no less than 100 people. All of them expressed their loyalty to William. You hateful mixed bloods." The elders were unbearably angry. They didn't expect these mixed bloods to jump out and support William. "We are hateful?" William laughed heartily. "You old farts, have you had enough yet? Now, in the entire Parker family, only us mixed bloods are working. As for you so-called pure bloods, you sit on the top all day long, using our hard work to feed you. Without you, we can actually live a better life. Let me ask you again, who is willing to support me?" The meaning of William's words was very clear. Some pure-blooded blood breeds were also touched. Among these mixed bloods, there were more or less their children. Many pure bloods also knelt before William. They naturally had to submit to a person who could even defeat Grand Duke Peter. During this time, Li Fan and Lu Wanner stood to the side and watched the show. Lu Wanner stood there in a daze, not making a sound, as if she did not understand anything. Li Fan was also slowly unlocking Lu Wanner's spirit seal. This kind of thing could not be forcefully broken, otherwise it would easily injure Lu Wanner's brain. As he dealt with the seal, he watched the commotion. William was indeed not simple. He had made a lot of preparations for today. "Tie up the rest of those who don't support me," William ordered, and the rest of the people were all arrested. There were also many experts among the mixed bloods, from the Baron to the Marquis, and their combat effectiveness could not be underestimated. Are you going to kill us?" the elder asked, trembling. "Anyway, we are also people of the same race. I'm not like you, so ruthless. From today onwards, you will live in the Dark Knight Castle." Throwing them into the Dark Knight Castle was basically equivalent to exiling these pure bloods who did not support him. This was the only way William could think of. When they got there, Prince Alfred would naturally go to restrain them. "You will not have a good end." A certain elder cursed viciously. "That's not something you should worry about. From today onwards, the Parker family will change." As soon as William's words fell, a bat suddenly flew down from the top of his head. It flapped its wings and sent out a mental wave, so that every blood breeds present heard his voice. Including Li Fan, he also heard it clearly. "Dirty mixed bloods, I am the second-generation patriarch Conan Parker. You are not qualified to be the patriarch." Sure enough, they are monitoring. William did not put this Conan in his eyes. "You and the other 2 Grand Dukes have been expelled by Peter. I can even kill him. Why would I be afraid of you?" William now had full confidence. He had already controlled the Dawn Castle. There were a lot of resources here. He could quickly rise to the level of Grand Duke. In addition, with the kung fu taught by Li Fan, he would not be afraid of those blood breeds. He would not give up the position that he had won with great difficulty. What's more, just like what he said, in the Parker family, only the mixed bloods are working. The people above them were just a bunch of bastards who didn't do anything but sit and eat. He created a new rule. It would only make more mixed bloods come to him. Conan and the remaining few Grand Dukes, he did not have the slightest fear. You must return the patriarch position, otherwise I will bestow your punishment. Come on, second generation. William sneered, if you have the ability. But now, I still have a lot of things to deal with. I have no time to listen to your nonsense. Saying that, he stretched out his hand, activated the grip of darkness, and directly crushed the bat into minced meat. All right, everyone, from today onwards, we will no longer be oppressed. Please continue to do your job. Dawn Castle will reward you according to your contributions. In the future, whoever contributes more to the family will be able to obtain more resources and greater authority. Those who only enjoy the bloodline but do not work will be banished to the Dark Knight Castle. William's decision received the support of the blood breeds present. They had been oppressed by the purebloods for too long. They had long been waiting for this day to come. Moreover, from today onwards, I invite Lee Fan, Mr. Lee, to be our Parker family's special consultant. From now on, he is our family's most distinguished friend, guest, and distinguished guest. William used these 3 words to describe Lee Fan. Mr. Lee, are you satisfied with this? Thank you, I'm very satisfied. Lee Fan nodded, then pulled Lu Wan Wan. Next is your matter. I will take Wan Wan with me. If you need any help in the future, come to China to find me. All right. May our friendship be everlasting. William was very excited, although he wanted to stay and entertain Mr. Lee. He knew that Mr. Lee must have his own things to do, so he did not want to waste his precious time. He watched as Lee Fan pulled Lu Wanner away, and secretly rejoiced in his heart for gaining Lee Fan's friendship. Chapter 1274. I actually forgot so many things. Lu Wanner covered her forehead as she sat on the armchair in the hall of the Seven Knights Villa. She rubbed her temples as if she had a headache. It's all right. Don't you remember now? Lee Fan lovingly stretched out his hand and rubbed her hair. Don't run around in the future. Make me look for you all over the world. Yes, yes, my good husband. It's my fault. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. Lu Wanner was also a little regretful. I also didn't expect that my family would suddenly come here and take me away. But my father, is he really dead? Yes. William killed him himself. Lee Fan cleanly pushed the blame away and refused to admit that it had anything to do with him. Forget it. If he's dead, then he's dead. Lu Wanner sighed. I never had any father-daughter relationship with him. He only wanted to wait for me to grow up and marry me to another vampire as a tool of exchange. Speaking of which, you'll awaken at 25. Do you want to be a vampire? Lee Fan was afraid that Lu Wanner would be sad and deliberately changed the topic. No way. Drinking blood is disgusting. Lu Wanner shook her head repeatedly. Then do you have any way to get rid of the vampire bloodline? I've never heard of it. Since ancient times, no one has been able to do it. Lee Fan's gaze fell on Dragon Girl, who was snacking at the side. Have you heard of it? Don't ask me. How would I know about these barbaric things? Dragon Girl curled her lips. She has at least 2 or 3 years of good days. You should think about yourself first. You're no longer human. Dragon Girl's words made Lee Fan silent. Lu Wanner found it strange and hurriedly asked, how is he not human? He ate my dragon and is already a half-dragon. Although I don't know how he survived until now. Generally speaking, a human body can't contain the power of my dragon race. Dragon Girl also found it strange. In the past, someone accidentally ate a piece of dragon meat and mutated into a demon beast. It's really strange that you can stay the same. Don't worry. I'm fine. My body has long since ceased to be human. Lee Fan laughed bitterly. You don't have to worry about me. I will strive to live longer than you. Al had once said that his lifespan far exceeded that of ordinary people. But no one knew exactly how much it had exceeded. Who's worried about you? I'm just lazy. I don't want to find another Shang Fong sword. As the dragon lady spoke, she stretched her body. Now that you're back, you should properly take care of the 7 heroes' village matters. When you weren't around, it was Lin Yuhsin who took a leave of absence from school to help you. That little girl was busy running all kinds of business for you. You have to thank her properly. Of course, Lee Fan would definitely thank Lin Yuhsin properly. With the help of such a smart girl, Many things could be done with half the effort. In short, the outline of the villa is almost done. Pick a good day, and we can open the mountain and establish the sect. Li Fan was still a little happy. Although he was shouldering the burden of the martial arts world, no matter what, he had trained from an ordinary high school student to his current level. It was also a kind of progress and breakthrough. If Murong Ying was still by his side, would she be proud of him? Because of a new policy, the martial arts world assembly had been canceled. Murong Ying, the leader of the martial arts world, had become a kind of masterpiece. Brother-in-law, I've already picked a day. Murong ran out of the room with a yellow calendar in her hand. Let's do it next Monday. It's an auspicious day, and it's suitable to open the mountain and establish the sect. You've worked hard. Li Fan touched her hair again. Murong looked like she was enjoying it. Currently, who are the experts in my 7 Heroes villa? Even Li Fan couldn't remember, so he asked. Xiaohou had been standing at the side. She had just come from the escort agency 2 days ago. The reason why she didn't help Lin Yuchisan with the work of the villa was that Fifan Escort Agency was also busy with the relocation. Now that the headquarters of the escort agency had been moved to the villa, it would be easier to manage. When she heard Li Fan's question, she stepped forward and answered softly. Now, the 7 Heroes villa is divided into the inner sect and the outer sect. The head of the inner sect is you, Li Fan. The left guardian Guan Wenbao, the right guardian Yin Kai, and the great Zen Master Bodhi. Li Fan muttered in his heart. Currently, this frivolous great Zen master was still on the Li family island. Okay, continue. Yes, there's also discipline elder Chen Junhua, training elder imperial concubine Zhou, and welcoming elder Xiaohou. Mount Hua had basically become a tourist attraction. The Mount Hua sect master decided to let Chen Junhua stay in the 7 Heroes sect to ensure the final strength of Mount Hua. The training elder position was just an idle position, so it wasn't a problem to hand it over to imperial concubine Zhou. But welcoming elder, it didn't sound too comfortable. Little senior sister, have you considered changing jobs? Li Fan asked. There has to be someone in the inner sect to receive foreign guests. I'm worried about handing this job to someone else. Xiaohou gave Li Fan a sweet smile. In the future, the 7 Heroes sect will definitely be full of distinguished guests. How can I not handle it personally? That's true. Continue. Okay. Next is Butler Yang Shueiyue, Chief Escort Big Dipper, Head Disciple Lu Xiaohu, Second Disciple Jiang Yi, and Third Disciple Abe Haruko. Jiang Yi was also sitting at the side and was a little unconvinced. Master, I've decided to choose another day to compete with Senior Brother. Lu Xiaohu laughed. You'll still lose no matter how many times we fight. Abe Haruko was also there. She was very obedient and didn't say anything. Now that the 3 major families of Japan only existed in name, Li Fan didn't care if she stayed or left. But she still decided to stay and learn martial arts from Li Fan. There's also the alchemy room manager, Luo Xiaofeng. Yes, give him an alchemy room and he won't come out for a lifetime. Luo Xiaofeng of Medicine King Valley was indeed a madman in alchemy. It was because of his rejuvenation pill and rejuvenation pill that he was able to win in the competition. Then there's the outer sect. They're responsible for the tourism, food, accommodation, and other businesses. The president of the villa is Lu Wan-er. The general manager is Lin Yuhsen, and the public relations is Liao Wushuang. The security director is Huang Lei, Wang Tofu. The medical director is Miss Takeda Lan. After reporting these, Xiaohou bowed to Li Fan. Sovereign, above is the list of the upper echelons of our 7 Heroes villa. What about me? What about me? Murong AI stretched out her hand. Li Fan patted her head. You'll be the mascot of the villa. Hey, Murong AI was furious. Brother-in-law is looking down on me. All right, the villa also has a spokesperson. They are Shun Chun, Jiang Yuan, and Jiang Fongfong. Xiaohou filled in the 3 spots. As for Xiao AI, Sister Xiaohou, Murong AI looked at Xiaohou pitifully. Chapter 1275. Xia Yi also doted on this little girl. She thought hard and her eyes lit up. How about I set up a League of Legends department for you? Sister Xiai. Morong's face was bitter. What kind of department is this? All right, you are considered my family member. How can you work in the League of Legends? Li Fan comforted her. Sister Xiaowan and Imperial Concubine Zhou are also your family members. Such blunt words caused Lu Wanner to blush. Imperial Concubine Zhou's face did not change, but she was happy. You're still young. When you're a few years older, I'll find a good job for you. Using these kind words to coax me again. Morong pouted. Since the establishment of the dojo, I have helped a lot. Don't forget me, brother-in-law. Well, how about this? Li Fan stretched out his hand and took out the hero's sword that he had been treasuring until now. This sword was given to him by Dong Yi, and legend has it that it was Lu Jinshan's sword. Come, you take this hero's sword. Oh, Murong took the hero's sword, not knowing what her brother-in-law was going to do. From today onwards, you are my sword elder, responsible for taking care of the hero's sword for me. If someone does something against the sect, you will be the one to punish him. How about it? Good, this is good. Morong was overjoyed. This time she was happy. As for Jiang Yi, she also has my extraordinary sword. Don't call her second disciple. It is not nice. Her and Xiaohu's martial arts are almost the same. From today onwards, she is my sword elder. Similarly, if there are any disobedient disciples, you can teach them a lesson on my behalf. Yes, master. Jiang Yi was satisfied and gave Lu Xiaohu a provocative look. As for Abe Haruko, you will be the outer disciple. In the future, there might be a lot of disciples from other countries. They are not familiar with Chinese culture, so you will take care of them. Disciple understands. Abe Haruko cupped her hands at Li Fan. She was happy. At least Li Fan didn't forget about her. In addition, Dong Yi, the person in charge of the 11 cavalrymen in Yanjing, also wants to return to Gue Manor. What position do you plan to give him? Xavier asked. Brother Dong is coming back? Li Fan thought about it. Now that most of the escort agency's business was on the right track, he probably wanted to help him with the villa's business. He has great foresight and is an intelligent person. Li Fan thought for a moment. My villa doesn't have any other halls, so let's set up one. Let's call it Yanjing Hall and let Big Brother Dong be the hall master. The Yanjing 11 cavalrymen will still be under his management, and he will be given the same level of authority as me. This was absolute trust. Li Fan also wanted to show his sincerity to Dong Yi. All right. Xiai nodded and did not object. After all, the Beijing 11 cavalrymen had cooperated with them for so long, and they had Mr. Big Dipper overseeing them for so long. In terms of sincerity, they had no reason to be picky. What about me? Aren't you going to give me a job? Lu Zhu suddenly asked. Little brother, can you resign from the demonic sect first? Li Fan could not help but roll his eyes. Do you still want to do a part-time job? My good big brother, what's the difference between your sect and our sacred sect now? Lu Zhu winked at Li Fan. Both are despised by the righteous sects, and both are enemies of the 4 major families. Get lost. How can we compare? Li Fan stood up and invited his chair. Why don't you take this seat? Forget it. Not everyone can sit on the 7 Knights sect master's seat. Lu Zhu waved his hand. But it's quite lively here. You took in me, a demonic sect disciple, and that sword reliance survivor. Hey, what are you talking about? Jin Hisao, who was sitting at the side, was unhappy. He stood up and glared at Lu Zhu. Don't confuse me with a demonic brat like you. What's the difference between us? We all rely on the 7 Knights' sect's protection to survive. Lu Zhu retorted. Jin Hisao was speechless for a long time, his body trembling in anger. All right, stop quarreling. It's not easy for us to gather together. Shouldn't we be happily discussing our plans? Li Fan was smug. Although we can only establish our sect in a few days, we'll officially send out invitations from today onwards. The 7 Knights sect will start recruiting disciples regardless of age, background, or race. There's only one requirement, and that is to have a good character. In addition, we are willing to protect those who are willing to join our 7 Knights sect as long as they're not evil. Li Fan, have you thought it through? When Lu Zhu heard this, she was speechless. If you do this, it's equivalent to going against the current policy. So what? Li Fan displayed his arrogance. I'm the Imperial Sword. I'll ensure the safety of the region. Dragon God #1 is about to take off. How can I not nurture a powerful force? Li Fan, Lu Zhu was a little annoyed. Why can't you use your brain? You've spent so much effort to help them, but in the end, they might not appreciate it. As long as I act according to my conscience, I don't need them to appreciate it. This was Li Fan's personality. Lu Zhu wanted to say a few more words, but Murong hurriedly interrupted. All right, Lu Zhu, don't say any more. Don't you know brother-in-law's temper? I've been with brother-in-law for so many years, through all the ups and downs. Once he's decided on something, even a few cows can't pull him back. Sai, you're such a good person. Lu Zhu looked at Li Fan, seemingly thinking about something. I made up my mind. Li Fan had already made up his mind. Little senior sister. Elder Xia, do as I say. All right. Xiaohou understood Li Fan's temper and knew that his decision would not be changed. Lu Zhu shook her head, but she had already made up her mind. That night, she found Qin Junhua and secretly discussed some matters with him. Summer. In the hot June, when the college entrance exam was approaching, the Seven Heroes Villa officially opened its doors. Many young men and women who had dreams of being a martial artist embarked on a journey to the Seven Heroes Villa to learn the martial arts of the Seven Heroes sect. Not only martial artists, but also many martial arts experts who had nowhere else to go, came to the Seven Heroes Villa to become the guests of the villa. The little overlord, Li Fan, was famous in the martial arts world for his righteousness. Although the commander of the Imperial Army, Sima Hue, was gnashing his teeth in hatred, there was nothing he could do. He received news that the remnants of the martial arts world, Yijian Shao Qingfeng and riding horseback whistling west wind, had come to the Seven Heroes Villa. This Seven Heroes Villa had openly become a place for these criminals. If this goes on, sooner or later, we will be trampled on by them. Sima Hue gnashed his teeth in hatred. He waved his hand. Go, invite Jiang Feng here. Chapter 1276. Jiang Feng went into seclusion for a period of time. During this period of time, he had a hard time. The changes in the martial arts world were both opportunities and obstacles for him. The huge Murong's house was in a half-dead state. Murong Bo also went into seclusion all day long and ignored outsiders. Murong Ying was overseas and did not know when she would come back. During this period of time, he searched everywhere for news of his sister, but it was like a stone in the sea. Jiang Feng used Zhang was background to climb up the social ladder of some influential people. Through their connections, Jiang Feng also became a member of the Imperial Army. Moreover, his official position was not low. He held the position of a sergeant and was in charge of the entire Ji province. Originally, it was to target Li Fan, but who would have thought that Li Fan would go to the Spanish Equin to establish his own faction? He could not reach Li Fan in a short time, so he could only shut himself in the seclusion room to cultivate and train his martial arts. Even if he was unwilling to admit it, it was a fact that Li Fan was far stronger than him. When Jiang Feng was in seclusion, his mind was in a mess. He was clearly much stronger than Li Fan in the past, but why was he getting worse and worse? I can't accept this. Jiang Feng sat cross-legged on a small pavilion in the middle of a lake. He was surrounded by the gurgling sound of water, and the lake was full of lotus flowers. But this could not make up for the pain in Jiang Feng's heart. He was only thinking about how to surpass Li Fan, defeat Li Fan, and get rid of this thorn in his side. Jealousy was like a burning flame, burning in Jiang Feng's heart. Why? Why could he be stronger than him? He was such a good-for-nothing who could not even beat Li Fan. How could he change the martial arts world and save his sister Jiang Yi? Jiang Feng, can't you be stronger? Jiang Feng roared to the sky, and the surrounding lake water rippled. And at this moment, he heard a voice speaking in his ear. Do you want to be stronger? Nonsense, of course I do. Jiang Feng looked at his reflection in the lake. The shadow's face was dark and seemed to be asking him. I can give you strength. Really? What price do I have to pay? Jiang Feng asked. After death, there are 6 paths. They were the heaven path, the Azura path, the human path, the beast path, the wraith path, and the hell path. The one that suffered the most was the Azura path. This place was Azura, fighting and killing for all eternity. If you are willing to become an Azura, I will give you the power of an Azura. All right, Jiang Feng agreed without the slightest hesitation. You don't regret it? I don't look at life. I only look at the present. Jiang Feng did not hesitate. Furthermore, I've already seen the 9 truths technique. As long as I can comprehend it, I can transcend life and death. Last time when they were besieging the devil cult, Jiang Feng had secretly peeped at the wall that was engraved with the art of 9 truths. However, he couldn't comprehend it. No matter how he went into seclusion, it was to no avail. This made him even more anxious and triggered his inner demons. That's right, this is you. Heart Demon seemed to be very satisfied. He stretched out his hand towards Jiang Feng. What's so great about the 9 truths cultivation technique? Cultivate my Azura path, and you will be invincible. Just to my liking. Jiang Feng also stretched out his hand and held on to Heart Demons. Jiang Feng felt like he was instantly pulled into the lake. The bone-chilling lake water instantly enveloped his body. At that moment, Jiang Feng felt like he was being embraced by death. It was as if the god of death was gently strangling his neck from behind. Jiang Feng's eyes widened. However, he held back his panic and waited for the moment of death. Only by falling into the Azura path would one become an Azura. At this moment, Jiang Feng's body suddenly emitted a blood-red light. It surrounded his body and slowly rotated. After a few minutes, his figure slowly grew out of the water. Very quickly, he stood on the surface of the water. This is the power of an Azura? He opened his eyes. His eyes were glowing red. Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and pointed at the lake with 2 fingers. A blood-red ray of light shot out, and the lake was blasted into a huge wave. This skill is not bad. Jiang Feng smiled. It is comparable to the 6-pulse godly sword in novels. With this level of skill, Li Fan would not be a problem. Jiang Feng was very satisfied. He directly sat cross-legged on the lake. A large amount of Azura Qi supported his body, allowing him to float without sinking. Not long later, a subordinate came to find Jiang Feng, saying that the commander wanted to see him. Got it. Jiang Feng had already guessed in his heart why the commander wanted to see him. He first took a bath and changed into a clean set of clothes before going to see Sima Hui. In Jiang Feng's heart, he did not care much about Sima Hui. This guy did not have any real ability. He was just a villain who stole other people's fruits of labor. Jiang Feng, why are you so late? Sima Hui looked at Jiang Feng, who came late. He frowned and questioned him. I am in closed-door training. Jiang Feng casually said, if there is nothing important, don't disturb me. You. Sima Hui was almost angered to death. This guy was too arrogant. But he had no one to use now and had to rely on Jiang Feng. Pack your things and go to L Province to take up your post. Oh, are you asking me to confront Li Fan head-on again? Jiang Feng raised his eyebrows. It's good that you understand. Sima Hui nodded. If I let Li Fan continue to develop, I'm afraid that the royal army will be useless. What does that have to do with me? Jiang Feng chuckled. The royal army is just a place for me to live. Without it, I could still live freely elsewhere. You. Sima Hui choked with anger. What do you want? Sima Hui, you should step down. Jiang Feng crossed his arms and stood there, looking at Sima Hui. In your hands, the royal army will only become more and more miserable. In the end, they will lose the trust of the government and end up like the martial arts world. Bullshit. Sima Hui immediately became angry. Who do you think you are? How dare you make such a request of me? Hee. Who do you think you are? You're just temporarily fighting for the position of the commander for Moro. Do you really think that you are the boss? Shut up. Sima Hui angrily rebuked. Men, arrest him. But no one came in. The room was quiet. Only the furious Sima Hui and the calm Jiang Feng. Men, come. Come. Sima Hui shouted a few more times, but still no one came. Jiang Feng chuckled. Do you think that you are still the boss? Everyone has had enough of you. You! Before Sima Hui could finish his words, his throat was suddenly pierced by a red light. His eyes glazed over, and he knelt on the ground. Jiang Feng kicked Sima Hui to the side and sat on his seat. Men, he ordered, and a few guards came in and knelt in front of him. We are willing to be at your service. From today onwards, I, Jiang Feng, am the commander of the royal army. Chapter 1277. Yin Zhozhou was 16 this year. His family was well off, but his grades were not good. He dropped out of school in his first year of high school. Originally, according to his family's plan, he was to go abroad for 2 years and then do something when he returned. After Yin Zhozhou dropped out of school, he played games at home every day. To him, this was the only way to pass the time. He wanted to follow his family's plan and go abroad after a while to pass the time. This thought lasted until Yin Zhozhou saw the video on the internet. It was the one where the Chinese dragon god fought the Japanese samurai. This video made Yin Zhozhou's blood boil. Later, he heard that the Chinese Shangfang sword had established a sect, so Yin Zhozhou decided to go up the mountain to learn. His parents tried to stop him at first, but Yin Zhozhou was very young and rebellious. Once he decided on something, no one could stop him. His family fought and quarreled, but in the end, they could only watch as Yin Zhozhou went up the mountain. When he reached Seven Knights Villa, Yin Zhozhou felt like he had come to another world. The architectural style of the Seven Knights Villa was like an ancient pavilion. The villa was surrounded by mountains and water. A mountain path led to the top of the mountain. Buildings with red bricks and green tiles were built on both sides of the path. According to a pretty tour guide, the Seven Knights Villa was also a tourist attraction. The lower half of the villa had a hot spring and a martial arts field for outsiders to visit. They could also enjoy the food in the villa. Yin Zhozhou was here to become a disciple. When he told the tour guide, she was stunned. Disciple? I heard there are too many apprentices in the villa now. It's not easy to go up the mountain. It's okay. Sincerity can move metal and stone. Yin Zhozhou made up his mind. He ignored the tour guide's advice and went up the mountain. The scenery along the way was not bad. It seemed like this place was meticulously renovated. Cherry trees were planted on both sides of the mountain road. Although it was not the season to admire flowers, it was unknown what method was used to make the cherry trees bloom so brilliantly. Yin Zhozhou took some pictures with his phone and posted them on his WeChat to prove that he had arrived at Seven Knights Villa. Soon, there were comments below. First floor. Fuck, you really went there? Come back after playing for a while. We've missed you. Idol, remember to protect me when you come back. Yin Zhozhou smiled, put away his phone, tidied up his backpack, and continued to walk up the mountain. According to the guide, the Seven Heroes sect was located halfway up the mountain. However, some disciples of the Seven Chivalry sect were blocking the way, not allowing tourists to go up the mountain. I'm sorry, but that's the inner mountain. It's not open to the public. A disciple saw Yin Zhozhou coming up and politely stopped him. Senior brother, I'm not here to travel. I'm here to find a master. Yin Zhozhou hurriedly cupped his hands and imitated the way the swordsmen met in the TV series. Oh, become my disciple? The disciple looked at Yin Zhozhou a few more times and said with some embarrassment, but now is not the time for us to accept disciples. Do you have a schedule for accepting disciples? Yin Zhozhou was shocked. Yes, because there are too many people coming to learn from us, we have changed the disciple recruitment to once a year. The exam will be held in June, and the disciple will be admitted in September. It was Lin Yuechisan's idea, which was similar to the college entrance examination. The test was based on a combination of character and talent. Li Fan had said that those with bad character would not be accepted. As for those with poor talent, even if they were allowed to practice martial arts, it would be a waste of effort. However, they could learn some breathing techniques in the outer sect and practice ordinary martial arts to strengthen their bodies. Moreover, if they were able to achieve some results, they would be given the opportunity to enter the inner sect to cultivate. What Li Fan wanted was an absolutely fair opportunity. He did not want to breed that kind of discrimination in the sect. How can this be? I had a falling out with my family. I came all the way here just to learn from a master. It's only June now. If I wait any longer, it'll be next year. Jojo was about to go crazy. I'm really sorry. It's not up to us, the disciple scratched his head. You should go back. No, I must go up the mountain. Jojo was anxious. He carried his bag and walked up the mountain. Friend, please wait. The disciple stretched out a hand and pressed on Jojo's shoulder. Jojo struggled with all his might, but found out that he could not move at all. It was as if he was being pressed down by a big rock. Jojo's forehead was filled with cold sweat, but he was a little excited. Yes, this is the life I want. I must become stronger. I must. He exerted force and actually knocked open the disciple's chest. Oh, the disciple was a little surprised. Not bad, huh? At this time, a beautiful female disciple wearing martial arts attire with a ponytail walked down the mountain. Seeing her, the disciples all cupped their hands and called her senior sister. You want to learn martial arts? Yes. Jojo nodded with all his might. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Your bone structure is not bad. It's worth nurturing. The beautiful senior sister nodded. Follow me. Yes. Jojo was overjoyed. He was actually handpicked by the beautiful senior sister. He proudly raised his head at the disciple and then followed behind the senior sister, going up the mountain together. The mountain path from the middle of the mountain to the top was steep. If an ordinary person were to climb up, they would definitely be exhausted. But this beautiful senior sister walked as if she was walking on flat ground, relaxed and happy. Jojo was already tired. His legs were like lead. But seeing how relaxed this senior sister was, his competitive spirit rose again. He bit the bullet and followed behind, not falling behind even a step. Let's take a break. But this senior sister was clever and could see that Jojo was trying to show off. She pointed to a stone next to her. I'm also a little tired. Let's take a break. Hey, okay. Jojo gasped for breath. He sat down on the big stone. This stone was slightly hot from the sun, but it was not cold. It was just right for him to rest his feet. What's your name? The beautiful senior sister breathed evenly, looked at Jojo and asked, replying to senior sister, my name is Jojo. Jojo looked at his senior sister and felt that she was full of heroic spirit. The other girls in the class were not as good looking as her. Senior sister, what's your name? My name is Wang Xiaoran. Wang Xiaoran took off her hair rope and tied her ponytail again. Call me senior sister from now on. Okay. Jojo was very excited. It seemed that he really succeeded in becoming her disciple. We've rested enough. Follow me. We're almost there. Wang Xiaoran said and started a hurry. Jojo did not dare to delay and quickly followed behind. Not to mention, looking at his senior sister's figure was also a kind of enjoyment. Coupled with the surrounding mountains and rivers, it was a beautiful scene that made people feel happy. But what was it like inside the Seven Chivalry sect? Chapter 1278. Jojo followed Wang Xiaoran and finally entered the legendary Seven Knights Villa. As soon as they entered, they saw a huge training platform in the shape of the 8 trigrams built on the edge of the cliff. A group of about 100 disciples dressed in black and white martial robes were standing on the training platform, practicing. A youth of the same age as him was sitting on a chair above the training platform, giving pointers to the disciples. This is the inner sect training platform. Up there is our senior brother, Le Xiao. Wang Xiaoran introduced. He is in charge of teaching us new disciples. If that's the case, are we going to practice now? Of course not. Wang Xiaoran covered her mouth and chuckled, causing Jojo to be a little dazed. You have to go to Master's place and serve him tea and also assign you a place to live. Oh, can I see? Master Li? Jojo immediately became excited. Yeah, you came to the right time. Master often travels, but recently he has been staying in the villa. If he is not here, I have no right to let you learn martial arts. Thank you, senior sister. Jojo felt that his luck was really good. To be able to join the best place to practice martial arts in China, it was simply wonderful. Jojo followed Wang Xiaoran along the repaired stone road, all the way to the depths of the villa. At this time, some men and women with swords and sabers on their backs walked in the villa. Senior sister. These are. Jojo felt that they were extraordinary and could not help but ask. These are the people of the pugilistic world. Many of them are martial arts experts. They could not survive outside, so they relied on the villa and became its customers. Is our villa so powerful? Jojo became more and more excited. It's more than powerful. Wang Xiaoran was also very proud. The Seven Knights Villa bears the last responsibility of the pugilistic world. But all the pressure is on Master Li Fan. With him, we will prosper. If he is not, we are finished. This Seven Knights Villa is like a paradise. But one day, we will also have to go to the battlefield. This is an era of peace. We still have to go to the battlefield? Jojo was a little puzzled. Era of peace? You're wrong. Wang Xiaoran knew a thing or two. Very soon, it won't be peaceful anymore. It's all right. I'm willing to fight for the villa. Jojo said without hesitation. It's my honor. Of course, we don't want to fight either. In particular, the main purpose of practicing martial arts was to strengthen the body. Master will tell you all these after we enter the Nine Dragons Hall. After saying that, Wang Xiaoran led Jojo into a building deep within the city. There was a small courtyard outside the building. After entering, there was a small pond inside. It was like a place outside of civilization, and it was extremely quiet. Wang Xiaoran brought Jojo through the courtyard and into the hall. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw a huge mural hanging in front of him. There were 9 dragons of different colors painted on it. It was a bit like the 9 Dragons wall in the Forbidden City. In front of the mural was an exquisite and beautiful sea of tea. A righteous and awe-inspiring youth was sitting in front of the sea of tea. Next to him was a masked woman who was making tea for him. On the bed next to him was a pretty little girl reading a comic book in her hand. Jojo was very familiar with this youth. The moment he saw him, he was excited. Wang Xiaoran lightly patted his shoulder. Master, Xiaoran is here to greet you. The person tasting the tea was none other than Li Fan. Seeing Jojo come in, Li Fan was puzzled for a moment, then glanced at his second disciple, Jiang Yi, who also shook her head. There were too many people in the villa, but Jiang Yi's ability to recognize people was very good. She had a photographic memory of anyone she saw. Therefore, sometimes Li Fan would rely on Jiang Yi to recognize people. Since Jiang Yi didn't know him, then he should be a new guest? Xiaoran, this is Master. He's here to acknowledge me as his master. Wang Xiaoran cupped her hands and said, Oh, your relative? Wang Xiaoran's face turned red, hastily explaining, Master. No, I saw him halfway up the mountain. His foundation is not bad, and his character is also good, so I brought him up the mountain on a whim. All right, Li Fan nodded. Since he's someone you recommended, then he should be a good person. Come in front of me. Yes. Jojo immediately stepped forward and knelt in front of Li Fan. Master, please accept this disciple's bow. As he spoke, he kowtowed with sincerity. Li Fan accepted this bow. This was the rule of acknowledging a master, so Li Fan still kept it. Get up, what's your name? Li Fan asked. My name is Jojo. Jojo hastily stood up and answered. Jiang Yi, who was beside him, handed him a cup of tea. Jiang Yi casually pinched his shoulder, then nodded. Jojo wanted to thank her, thinking that he was thirsty. But when he saw Wang Xiaoran giving him a look, he immediately understood. Holding the tea with both hands, he toasted his master. Master, please have some tea. And okay. Li Fan was a little impressed. This young man was quite clever. Jojo, from today onwards, you are a disciple of the 7 Chivalry sect. However, there are 7 rules of the 7 Chivalry sect. You must remember them. Master, please speak. First, don't do evil. Second, don't be ruthless or brave. Third, don't deceive your master. Fourth, don't bully the common people. Fifth, don't kill your fellow disciples. Sixth, don't be disloyal or unfilial. Seventh, don't help the wicked. Disciple understands. Jojo thought to himself, these are all requirements for character. although I'm a little willful at home. It seems like that's all I need to change. The 7 Chivalry sect has a total of 7 martial arts. Which one do you want to learn? Li Fan hadn't imparted the 9 Dragons spell to his disciples yet. It wasn't that he didn't want to teach them, but training in martial arts was a gradual process. Seeing Yin Zhou's confused expression, Li Fan gave Wang Xiaoran a look. Wang Xiaoran immediately patted Yin Zhou's shoulder and introduced him. The 7 Chivalry sect has a total of 3 martial arts. The most basic is the 7 Chivalry Fist. It has a total of 7 fist techniques: Tiger Strike, Deer Strike, Bear Strike, Ape Strike, Crane Strike, Toad Strike, and Snake Strike. You can choose one to practice. Once you reach the peak, you can practice the advanced martial art, the 7 Brilliance Fist. After you practice the 7 Brilliance Fist to the peak, you can learn the sect's highest martial art, the 9 Dragon Spell. 9 Dragon Spell sound amazing. It is, but just the 7 Brilliance Fist is enough to take a while. Right now, even eldest senior brother and second senior sister haven't learned the 9 Dragon Spell yet. Chapter 1279. Even eldest senior brother and second senior sister have not learned the highest level martial arts? Yin Zhou felt like drooling. Of course, this is a matter for the future. If you start practicing martial arts at this age, your progress will be slower. But as long as you persevere, you will definitely achieve something. Wang Xiaoran patted Yin Zhou's shoulder. Work hard. Make your choice. Li Fan took a sip of the tea brewed by his second disciple. As expected of the daughter of the Jiang family, they are indeed superior in this aspect. Whether it is tea arts or music, Jiang Yi is very outstanding. He can even be Li Fan's master. So difficult. Yin Zhou glanced at the ceiling. There are 7 animals painted on it: tiger, deer, bear, ape, crane, toad, snake. Each animal shows their own style, vivid and lifelike. Yin Zhou looked at these animals, and something in his heart was awakened. Which one do you want to learn? I want to learn this. Yin Zhou pointed at the giant toad above his head. He did not know why, but when he saw this, he felt a little excited. Toad Strike? You have good eyesight. Li Fan could not help but laugh. Among the 7 martial arts, Toad Strike is the most difficult to learn, but after mastering it, it is the easiest to approach the Martial God True Body. Martial God True Body. That's the move that Master used when he fought with that island country's martial artist, right? Yin Zhou recalled the scene in the video, and his blood started to boil. Indeed, Li Fan nodded his head. Golden light emitted from his back and quickly formed the appearance of a martial god. This is the strongest state that a martial artist can comprehend after training to the extreme. Martial God True Body. So cool. I also want to train to this state. Yin Zhou's eyes were filled with stars. Then work hard. Li Fan laughed. This senior sister beside you also trains in Toad Strike. You can learn more from her. And Toad Strike emphasizes on the technique of Qi. Wang Xiaoran reminded Yin Zhou. Our inner force mental cultivation method is the improved 7 Heroes Force. What we train is essence Qi that surpasses true Qi. You must learn more and must not be lazy. Got it, senior sister. I will work hard. Yin Zhou was so excited that he couldn't help but take out his phone and ask Li Fan anxiously. Master, can I post a selfie? Sure. Li Fan didn't mind. He watched Yin Zhou excitedly take a selfie and post it on his WeChat moments. He smiled at Jiang Yi. Sometimes I forget that I'm still a young man in his 20s. I feel like a weird uncle. It's just that your realm has increased. Jiang Yi hurriedly said, How many people worship you? Sai, my mentality is getting old. This is not good. Li Fan instructed Wang Xiaoran. Xiaoran, take Yin Zhou to practice. I'll leave these new disciples to you. Don't worry, Master. I will do my best. Wang Xiaoran was very proud. She had entered the sect early, and now that she was their senior sister, seeing them look at her with worship, she couldn't help but feel happy. Master, this disciple will take his leave. After the 2 of them left the room, Li Fan put down the teacup, took out his phone, and glanced at his WeChat moments. Am I a bit pitiful? Hearing Li Fan's words, Jiang Yi couldn't help but laugh. Master, there are hundreds of people in the Seven Knights Villa. Actually, everyone has a WeChat. If you want to add them, just announce your WeChat number. Soon, you will be able to add a bunch of people's WeChat moments. Oh, is that so? Li Fan didn't believe it. If Master doesn't believe me, we can try. Jiang Yi said and took out her phone. I can announce your WeChat number to my WeChat moments. I think it won't be long before they will add your WeChat number. Okay, go ahead. Li Fan was looking forward to it. It was already the era of technology. He couldn't always live like an ancient person. This way, his understanding of information would be too backward. Especially now that the Seven Knights Villa had become a circle, Li Fan naturally wanted to blend in. Soon, Li Fan's phone showed that many people had added him. He was too lazy to do it, so he threw it to Jiang Yi and let her help him accept them one by one. Okay, Master, there are about 300 people who have added you. Jiang Yi handed the phone back to Li Fan. You can post it to your WeChat moments. Okay. Li Fan took the phone and thought for a moment. Then, he took a picture of the 7 beasts above his head. He made a message and sent it. Today, I accepted another disciple. I hope the Seven Knights sect will become stronger and stronger. In less than 10 minutes, there were hundreds of people who replied to his WeChat moments. Lu Xiaohu, I want to watch Master. Long Fong Yu. The Seven Knights sect is the model of our generation. I am willing to follow sect Master Li. Huang Lei. Instructor, I want to practice fist techniques. Wang Do. The person above is an idiot. Morong AI. Everyone practice well. Let me worry less. Imperial Concubine Zhou. Don't look for me to impart skills. Xia Yin. The new disciple is not bad. Luo Shuwu. I hope the Sword Reliance can see the light of day soon. Long Fong Yu. I'm willing to help. Jin Jiomon. Idiot. The two groups of people quarreled. Li Fan had a headache. The Sword Reliance and horse riding still don't like each other. They just have some small conflicts. Jiang Yi explained. After all, Long Fong Yu pursued Luo Shuwu. Later, nothing happened, so the two sides had a conflict because of this. Now that the pugilistic world is like this, how can they care about these things? Li Fan couldn't help but sigh. I hope they can put aside their conflicts and do something for the pugilistic world together. There were really no talents in the pugilistic world now. If they were busy fighting, the internal energy would be consumed very quickly, especially when they had to deal with the Imperial Army internally and fight against the strong enemies of various countries externally. They couldn't relax at all. If they didn't take advantage of this time to conserve their energy, the future war might be very difficult to fight. While Li Fan was thinking, he suddenly received a message on WeChat. It was sent by Lu Xiaowan. Since there's nothing else, don't stay in the villa. Come to the film site. Xiaowan was filming in a nearby city. It was said that she was promoting a new actress. Although the matters of the film company had been almost settled, Xiaowan would sometimes go to see it in person. After all, she was now a famous producer in the circle. Only by nurturing a few powerful newcomers would the company be able to obtain more resources. Xiaowan was very ambitious. She wanted to set up her own cinema chain in the future. Li Fan couldn't help but send a message to Xiaowan. Why do you want me to go to the film site? I miss you. Come quickly. I've booked the plane ticket for you. You can arrive tomorrow. Okay. Recently, there was nothing to do in the villa. Li Fan decided to visit Xiaowan. She had been out shooting for a while. Jiang Yi, when I'm not in the villa, help Xia Yin to deal with the matters. If there's anything important, call me. Okay, Master. Don't worry. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.